Welcome to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host, Kyle, joined by my two friends, Dan and Matt. Things are looking, at least for me, things are looking a little bit different here on our Beetlejuice Friday.
Oh, Beetlejuice Friday, everybody.
Well, I'll be talking about it later when we get to movie stuff because I have seen it. So.
Well, you got the special big boy showing.
I got to see. It was a lucky. I'll say this right now. I got to see only because I opened up Facebook one day while I was working or between work or whatever, and there was an ad, and I was like, I wonder if I can get tickets for that because it's one of those special like 7:00 Wednesday night before the movie comes out screenings, and it was like maybe half sold out, and I was like, all right, and I didn't pay anything extra. It was just literally just like going to a regular show, but it was in the 4DX theater again. So that was fun. But so I was able to get tickets. And the one thing I'll say that was at least cool about it, there was 0 trailers. It was super weird. It was super weird. The movie started at 7. I got out at 8:45. It's exactly an hour and 45-minute movie. Wow. It was super bizarre.
I don't think I've ever experienced that before.
I had in my life because we were early, so before 7:00, I had to sit through what felt like a 10-minute ad for Walmart where kids were dancing for back to school that went on way too long. So that's why because I looked at my girlfriend, I'm like, we're gonna have to sit through so many fucking trailers. No. 0 trailers. That's cool. They played a little message from like Michael Keaton and some of the cast were like, hey, enjoy this special screening, and that was it. And they just played the movie.
That's pretty nice.
So that was pretty cool. But we'll get to Beetlejuice. We'll get to it. But we'll kick off as we always do. We talk about what we've been playing. I've been playing. So we'll talk about Vampire Survivors because it came out on the PS4 and the PS5, which prompted me to go back to it. But we had a surprise release that I was not. I was something I was hoping for a long time, but I didn't think it was actually going to happen because of the nature of how hard it would be to port these games. But we got Castlevania the Dominus Collection, which is the 3 regular DS games. So it's Dawn of Sorrow, Portrait of Ruin, and Order of Ecclesia. All fantastic, excellent games. I am almost done with Dawn of Sorrow. I would be done with it if it wasn't for you giving me the fucking Vampire Survivors bug again.
Hey man,
I've done so many runs of that game in the last 2 weeks.
You blame them for that, not me.
I looked at my time spent. Like I've added like another 20 hours in the last 2 weeks of that game, and a lot of it is just like I was looking when you were talking about like I've got like all these trophies because there are a lot of very easy achievements and trophies in that game. It's just playing the game. But I looked at it, I was like, boy, I never like finished with this character or that character or did a run with that or went and got this specific item. Like the game gets very crazy when you try to like look for some of those items and stuff. But I went back and did that. But as far as Castlevania goes, it's a fantastic port. I've only played Dawn of Sorrow. I haven't touched the other 2 games yet. The one thing I will say I don't like, and this isn't probably going to be a real problem with the other 2 releases, but Dawn of Sorrow, because it was the first one that came out in the DS, and it was in that first year or so that the DS was out.
That was an early game. Yeah.
It was a very early game, so that was the period where everybody wanted to use the touchpad.
You know how you can tell it's an early game too? It has DS in the title.
Remember Dawn of Sorrow. Every game.
They would force DS as words in the title of every Resident Evil Dual Survivors. Crammed it into every possible title.
That's not a bad version of Resident Evil.
No, it's actually a really good.
It's actually a really good version of it.
Yeah.
This so the whole thing in this game is you have to take the stylus if you're playing on DS and you draw like the little sigil when you're defeating the enemy. And here it translates to the face buttons on the controller. It's not. It can be challenging to get the timing correct. Like the timing seems off with it. So it has led to like probably every boss fight I've had to go through that process, miss it, and then fight the boss a little bit more, and then do it a second time. That part of it is a little disappointing, but again, when you get to the later games, it doesn't really have as much of that kind of functionality right now. So that's not going to be too big of a deal. But Dawn of Sorrow, I would just say, I put that out there and be like, just to be warning, that's not the best part of the game. But the way they handle the dual screen is so they split it, and like it's almost like 4x3. So you have one part of the screen that has the game, and then they have the two screens on the right side. So you have like the map, and you have like the character information, kind of like you would on the DS. Right. And then you can press the back button or whatever the equivalent would be on PlayStation. I'm playing on the Xbox, and you can change like the position of where those screens are. So, but fantastic port. They have all the music. You can actually play different versions. Like you play the Japanese version, which is kind of cool. Those are all that's included in there. And I will say the other thing that's kind of crazy, probably the most obtainable achievement trophy Castlevania in a while. It's literally just beat each game.
Just like beat the stuff, collect the stuff.
So each one has each one of the games has a trophy where you have to play as like the secret character. But that's just beating the game as the secret character. It's not really that big of a deal. It's just play through the game again. So, but yeah, like considering some of the crazier achievements they did with like the advanced collection and stuff, I kind of thought they'd go harder, and they don't. It's also important to note that they put a new version of Haunted Castle in this, like a remaster of it. No achievements or trophy tied to that.
Oh, interesting.
So like that was the other problem with the advanced collection is they put. I think they put not Bloodlines. It'd be cool to see Bloodlines in one of these. I think that is actually.
Isn't it in one of them?
It's in the Castlevania collection.
Yeah.
Okay. No, they put the one that I need, Dracula X, is in the the advanced collection. That game is a bitch for achievements and trophies. So that's the one where it's like, okay, this is actually pretty challenging. But this game, not hard. So I'll probably actually go for it. But yeah, I'm very close to the end of Dawn of Sorrow. But then I got bit by Vampire Survivors. The only other thing, and we can talk more about Vampire Survivors because you played a lot of it, Dan. Yesterday, I briefly tried out the Age of Mythology remaster, Age of Mythology Retold. It's out on Xbox and PC. I tried it on PC. I'm sure I have played Age of Empires 2 on Xbox. It does work pretty decently with an Xbox controller. I would assume that the controls are probably identical for this. So, but those games still for me are going to be PC if I can do that way. So, because just it's a better layout for that type of game. But it plays exactly like you would expect it to. So it's a very, very good remaster. All sorts of options you can do. There's all sorts of accessibility options. One thing I will say though, one thing that Microsoft needs to stop doing with their games that's really annoying me. And I don't see this with PlayStation releases that often, but it happens with like every Game Pass release now that's a first-party game. They turn the narrator on automatically. Oh, yeah. Like, so you'll start the game and it's like main menu, press this, but it'll tell you, and you have to go in the options and turn it off. I don't know why. It's every game lately I've started, and it's all specifically been Microsoft Studio games. So
interesting.
Wow. I understand.
It's all about accessibility, man.
I get it. And these games have insane amounts of accessibility options, but I don't need that to be turned on by default. So I don't think most people do.
No.
So it can be jarring, especially when you're sitting down, you turn on your sound, and the first thing you hear is some guy press start.
I hate that stuff in anything. Yeah.
And then all you want to do is press start or move the button, and then it's like left button, right. So it gets annoying. But
are you sure that's not like some kind of system level thing you have set?
No, because I've had it happen. No, because it's happened to me on both my Xbox and my PC.
Oh, that's sad.
So that's why with these releases. So it's just really weird. And I've also looked on Reddit, and I've seen people on the Xbox Reddit talk about it as well. So it's just something where you don't need to turn that on default for most people. So, but yeah, those are the only two real things that I've played this week. And then Vampire Survivors, which I can lead, more into you, Dan, because you played a lot of it.
Played a lot because I've never played it before.
I don't think you bought any of the DLC yet either. You just been playing the regular game?
I haven't felt the need to be honest with you. Because
I've been playing the DLC. So I actually ran through the Contra DLC, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It has a secret boss in there and everything that plays it actually churns the game into a Contra boss. and you can go all the way around like in a loop in a circle, so you're going upside down while you fight the boss. It's pretty cool.
Oh
yeah.
That's a really awesome level. All the DLC is fantastic for that game. So
yeah, I just haven't even felt the need to bother because the amount of much stuff that I've done is crazy. It's hard to even imagine like how much content is in this game because
for how cheap it is.
Well, for it's it's on Plus $4.49.
Yep.
For a PS4 and PS5 copy of the game. Like that's crazy. So I remember you talking about it a lot, obviously, but
it's my game of the year that year.
Yeah, but it still doesn't even. I still don't even feel like I was prepared for how much content this game has because at the outset it seems incredibly simple. Like you're just walking around doing nothing. It was very hard when I originally started it to not think of it as a twin stick shooter because I really wanted to keep aiming the stuff with the right stick until you realize it's literally just moving it with a stick. And then as you play, it's like you said in the beginning, it's easy to unlock stuff. It's easy to progress and then like unlock more characters, even though the game tells you almost nothing about how anything works.
No, it doesn't.
Like it'll give you little pieces here and there where it's like, oh, now you can have the map, which the map is basically just telling you how far away you are from something.
Yeah.
Or here's the combinations of weapons, so it'll tell you like how to do it. And as you earn more, it gets crazier and crazier. But the amount that game like expands and just keeps changing, and then it changes again, and then it becomes something else, and then this character is completely different, and then this level is you're just fighting trees, and they don't attack you, but there's just a lot of trees, and you finally get to a point where you unlock the unlock list, and it's like, oh, here's cryptic clues about how to find these other hidden bosses in these levels, which have weird requirements that you have to meet. Have
you unlocked like the Grimoire cards or whatever they're called?
Yeah, so I have both of those because I have I guess you would call them like the light cards and then the dark cards. And like I just got the dark card yesterday because those exist in a secret level you can only access by typing in a cheat code that the game actually gives you in the trophy list. It's like
there's a character too that you have to type in to get it too.
Yeah, it's so weird about how the game works and how things unlock. Like, what was I doing? What did I have to do the one day? So like, every run ends at 30 minutes. But it actually doesn't if you could stay alive longer because there's a way to get it if you get these weapons. But to get the weapons, you have to unlock this sigil thing. To get the sigil thing, you have to get to this 30 minutes in this level. And even then, it's random depending on the character you have. It may or may not have it. Yeah. And then it's like, so I finished all that. And then it's like, oh, here's a level where you just go talk to this dude and he gives you a weapon and he kicks you out. But now you can play upside down. And it's just like, what is happening? Every level just introduces something new and like, you can play through every level as every character. And then what I found, I was hunting for hidden bosses and, that tower level. Yeah. You just have to keep going south like forever. And eventually it gets dark and darker and darker. And then the runes that are flying around outside change to letters that say like, I'm alive here. And you're like, what is happening? It's pitch black. You can't see a damn thing. By the point you're down here, the play area is swarmed. So I sure hope you prepared for that with weapons. It's so fun though because it's addicting to play. Like you want to just do another run and then you want to do another run. And even though there aren't that many levels, like there's really only like 9 or 10 because you've got like the 5 major ones and then like some of the challenge ones. Some
bonuses,
of the challenge ones suck.
Some boss rush ones.
The challenge, like the Bone Zone place can fuck off. That place sucks. And then like the hidden boss in that level sucks too. Yeah, because it becomes it's a giant rolling Katamari of skeletons, which just grows to bigger than the size of the fucking screen. So you have to gear up to be able to even take it down, and even then you have to get lucky. But it's fun. Even then, it's not frustrating because you're always earning like money to unlock gold. Yeah. And like I just unlocked the ability to level weapons past their max. I've unlocked the ability to like I said, play upside down at twice the speed, or it's so weird. Or even the golden eggs things that are ridiculous because it's like you can just keep getting these eggs, and the eggs just randomly upgrade your stats permanently.
And a lot of that stuff too is added in free patches after.
Yeah, you can tell because like it's clearly like meant to be like more content and stuff. And then I unlocked these adventure things. I haven't even touched that yet.
I haven't touched those yet either, to be fair.
But like that's a whole other thing about this game where it's like a story mode. And then the game encourages you to play as everybody because it's like, you want to unlock this weapon, you got to play as this person. Some of the weapons, and the thing is like all of the weapons are pretty good. It's rare to find one that's not very good, but you have to find combinations of ones that will like protect you from them getting too close while you're doing like range damage.
Right. So
I kind of have like a plan of like what I like, but man, the game it's so good. I can't like for $5. This is one of the greatest games I've ever played.
This is what I said, like, and that's what I said when I was like, "Am I really going to choose that as my game of the year?" It's a $5 game, but it had more content than any other game that came out that year for under $5. I spent.
And that was not including any. I played DLC. Multiple runs a night at half hour a run minimum. And then I just unlocked endless mode. You can just play forever if you want, which is kind of fun because then you can just kind of wander around and see how crazy stuff can get. Because the game definitely wild. The game definitely has like a pattern of you've gotten this far, so it's this wave. You've gotten this far, it's this wave. But man, by the time it's like so, the main goal of the game is to get to that
30-minute mark.
Get to the 30-minute mark of that one level, so you fight the thing where like the 5 Reapers are combined.
Okay.
And then from that point on, it's like now you've unlocked something else, and then this other thing, and it's just like, how does it keep going? It just keeps going. There's more stuff to do. I've even and the final boss is that director guy, but I can't even go fight him yet because I have to go play another level.
Yeah.
It's so weird, but I love it to death. It's such a fun game.
It's crazy to me that it took as long as it did to come out to PlayStation because I can't imagine at this point being. I mean, it's on mobile phone for crying.
Yeah, and it's definitely
seems weird. I almost wonder if it was some sort of exclusivity deal or something.
Maybe in some way. It's
on Switch as well.
It's a very complex game masquerading as a very basic game.
It is.
The first 2 hours you play it, if you don't know anything about it, you're not prepared for what is going to happen.
And that was my thing, because like when I originally bought it on Steam before it was out on any of these systems, and I played like a round or two and just put it down because I was like, I don't understand what the hype is here. And then starting to see more people like, no, just play. You need to play more. You need to play more. I'm like, all right. And then I played a lot on Steam.
That the game has a weird, like, creepy fourth wall element to it.
Yeah.
Where like the first time you do certain actions, the menu screen fucks up, or the epilepsy warning is like garbled text.
Yeah.
Or when you finally collect that like yellow sign thing, the game like kind of freaks out and zooms in on you close, and then that like hand comes up and it claps a couple times as the screen goes in, and then it like blacks out. And I was like, what in the fuck just happened? And then it just restarts. Then you're back in the menu.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird, like it's like a weird feeling when that kind of stuff happens in games to me, but it's funny.
It's one of those things where like I would be very interested in like if they were to make a sequel, do like 16-bit. But like I don't know, man, there's so much they put into this one. They could just keep this going for a while.
I think that it's easy to make this one last forever. I would like to see online co-op added.
Yeah, I would too.
Just because I think that could be a lot of fun with 4 people running around. Well. But I think this game is.
I'm not ever going to have a situation where I have 4 people.
No, I'll never have 4 people in one place.
And that seems like it would be way too hectic in a situation where, like because of how the screen works, you have 4 people. It just seems like that'd be way too hectic.
I've watched some 4-player gameplay stuff, and it does get pretty crazy because you are limited to the screen.
Okay.
You can't like wander out, which is why I think online would help, because then we could be apart from each other, wandering around.
Okay, that makes sense.
But cool. Save it for Vampire Survivors too. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, do the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, up it a little bit to 16-bit stuff. You could do a lot more weird stuff with it if you faked like Mode 7 type stuff.
There you go. Yeah,
or
that's a cool idea.
Or one level all of a sudden is like hyper realistic. That would be weird and out of place, but that would fit in that game's like mentality
for sure.
I absolutely I'll probably be playing this game for at least like another month. It's got 210 trophies, I think I told you.
At?
130 something. Again, they're not
start getting
hard.
harder.
I'm at the point where they are getting harder because you do have to do very specific things with specific characters, and that can be difficult because some of these things are like you're limited to one weapon. Yeah. Some of these things are play a level a certain way or find a hidden boss and kill it in a certain amount of time, which isn't guaranteed.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I'm having a blast. It's such a good game. I don't think it'll end up being game of the year for me, but it's already top 5, like easy.
Oh, nice.
Easily. Yeah. So I've been playing a lot of that. Today my Astrobot came, so I started playing that before this. I got about 45 minutes in, and I played through the first. This isn't really spoilers because it's the beginning of the game. So basically, you're in your spaceship, which is your PS5. And you get attacked and you crash. So the plot of the game is essentially like rescuing all the bots that were on your ship and then like rebuilding your ship. So it's fun because the game actually has a story now, because Astro's Playroom was, hey, check out these cool levels and all this PlayStation related stuff that you like. This game actually feels like I'm doing something, and like the first level you go to, you have to rescue 7 bots. And one of them is Ratchet and one of them is I think her name's Rivet. Is that the girl Ratchet?
I think so, yeah.
So like they're two of the special ones. So then you play through this level, and then there's puzzle pieces and all that, and coins. So I finished that, and then you can go back to like your home world, which is like your base where it crashed. And now it's like, oh yeah, all the bots showed up. But you have this many bots, you can do these little activities in this area. Or there's more puzzle pieces to find. And as you find more, I assume it's just going to open this thing up more and more. Yeah, it's great.
I've heard it's an even bigger love letter to PlayStation than the last one.
So I mean, I've only played it for less than an hour, and it feels like it. But I was talking to you about it a little bit before, and like, it's hard to say that this game isn't like perfect. There's nothing wrong with this game, and it's amazing looking.
Does it do the same stuff with the controller, with the haptics, like the?
So far, it has some motion stuff. So like you fly, your little controller is a ship in the game that you glide around with. All that stuff
worked really well in the other one.
Yeah,
where I can't be against it because it actually worked.
Yeah, you just pick it up and you play, and it's exactly like the other one was. You've got your hover jump thing. Like you're not having to unlock any of this stuff. It's just if you played because I've been playing the other one recently to get these special bots for the trophies.
Yeah,
it just feels like it's that game blown up to even a wider scale.
I mean, I think they were wise because they looked at the reception of that. I mean, that was literally a free installed on your PS5 when you bought it game that everybody was like, "What's this?"
Should have been $60 to buy then.
That I would have gladly paid $60 for.
That game
would not have
very worth it.
So the fact that you're telling me that this is like that, but just even more fleshed out.
A lot. It feels like I've barely played any, but it feels like a lot more.
Okay,
which is even better.
That's cool.
And there's a lot of arguments about like, well, Crash was Sony's mascot, or is it Ratchet, or it's just Astrobot, dude. Like, just make the mascot Astrobot and let's just move on. He's awesome. Like, every single person loves Astrobot because he's super fun and cool.
At least they have a mascot.
This is the great. Yeah, this is.
They have multiple mascots they can choose from that people be okay with. Whereas Microsoft has nothing right now.
No, I wouldn't even say that. This is the mascot.
This is the mascot.
It's over. This ends the discussion. When
no more
PS6
Kratos
drops, no, it's not Kratos. No, it's not Kratos. It's not Ratchet. It's not all these other franchises they've abandoned. It's Astrobot, and the smartest thing they can do is tie him to everything Sony. Yeah, like, he should be on the main menu of your system when you turn it on. Like the PlayStation logo comes up and he's there hanging out next to it. And he does something random every time you turn it on. Like one time he does a flip, or like he's dressed up like a different character. Lean into it. Nintendo, everything about Nintendo is Mario. Everything about it. And to a lesser extent, Pikachu, but he's the Pokemon mascot. He's not the Nintendo mascot.
Exactly.
Like, Astrobot is the it's clear.
No,
if they don't have an Astrobot launch game for PS6, they have made a serious mistake.
It's funny because I go back to like my girlfriend when she had a PS4, when she first got her PS4, her background for the longest time, because remember the PS4 had all those different backgrounds you could buy or install that like were moving around, were the little Astrobots.
Yeah, because they had that playroom thing on there, which was a great. That was like, this is the tech. This is what we can do.
It's interesting to see that they've taken that and turned that little robot into their mascot.
Yeah, because then Playroom, Astro's Playroom for PS5 was like the middle ground of this is all the cool tech we can do, but it's also a fun game to play. Yeah. And now it's like, we just fucking made a game out of the cool tech we can do. Yeah. With the guy. And you all love the guy. And it's only $60. It's not $70. Like,
that part is a little weird to me that it's.
I guess I kind of get it, but like,
it's a family game, I guess.
It easily could have been $70. Like, and I probably would not have complained, because I wasn't even necessarily thinking about getting it right away. But then I just remembered from playing the last one to get these little bot guys for the trophy. This game's really fucking fun, man. I just want something fun to play.
Well, I mean, I'd also throw out the argument that is the only exclusive. Isn't it the only PS5 exclusive this fall?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you might as well.
It's also probably the best game on the system.
Probably will be the best exclusive of the fall.
Yeah. Like, I think you could already, in like, I'm assuming a lot about the game because I haven't played it, but I think you could already say it's one of the best games on the system, period.
Yeah, I can see that.
It just works, and it's good, and it doesn't need patches. It's not broken. It's not, like so many other things that come out, even from Sony, are broken or don't work.
Yeah, and I don't remember, even with that original game that that came out when you bought the system, I don't remember them doing a lot of patches other than to add this stuff that they've been adding for it. So
novel, and what a novel idea. And guess what? Here's another game that didn't take 8 years to make.
No, it's what we would say. What, it took three, maybe 4,
3.5,
probably three to 3.5.
Which I would argue is probably what the actual life cycle of development these days should be.
Yeah,
if you want to produce things in a timely manner and make a profit off.
Well, I think it's also important to note this is only on PS5. This isn't on. You can't buy this on PS4.
Right, and they should lean into this kind of stuff.
But from everything I've at least seen, like video wise, I'd probably melt a PS4. So.
God, yeah,
it looks very good.
It looks unbelievable. So there's that. Other than that, I mean, I'm going to be playing a lot more of that. I just played more Lego Star Wars just because I'm collecting more of these stupid. I finished the story and now it's just all clean up, and this game's a slog, dude. Lego games are a slog. This one is. I feel like
this one is not. You have 9 movies to get through. So.
I finished all that, but I got to replay all those so I can get all the pieces in there. Boy. And then, like, there's 1,000 or 1,200 of these bricks to collect. I have 500. It's just so much stuff. It's crazy.
You'll be good on playing a Lego game for a while when you finish it.
A lot of people play one every other year or so. Yeah. So that's fine. And then, real quick, last thing is I have some pickups, and I just like to show them off, even though they're crappy little tiny games, just because it's fun. So I got some Game Boy games I got Evil Knievel.
That's
a game
cool.
I didn't even know existed.
Rockstar
for Game Boy. Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Evil Knievel.
That would have been a later, like.
This is a late Game Boy game. It's not a Game Boy Color game. It's a late game.
Interesting.
I got Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue.
Nice. Okay.
Probably not great, but whatever. I got Blades of Steel 2000.
That's cool.
Yeah, which I've always liked the Blades of Steel hockey games, especially on like original Nintendo. I used to play that all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
I got a complete All-Star Baseball 2000
for Game Boy Color.
That's cool. On the quest of getting every baseball game. And then I got a complete Power Spike Pro Beach Volleyball. It's not sealed. It's been open. But it's got the plastic on it, so I figured, why not leave it on? It was $5.99 at some point. And that's surprising. that game was $5.99. And I got one Super Nintendo game. I got this game called Time Slip.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
I don't know what this is. I haven't played it yet.
Is it a gun game?
No, because I would say it on here.
Or Super Scope. I can't think of it.
Yeah, I would say it on here.
Okay.
I have no idea what it is. It's probably trash, let's be honest. And then this is a good one. I got Mercenaries 2.
Hell yeah.
For PS3. I actually really like this game. It had problems.
Both of those games were good.
Like, this game had problems for sure.
But that was a part of that era that we don't really have anymore. You get a good B tier game.
Yeah, and it's Pandemic.
Yeah, they were a good studio.
I liked Pandemic, but it was like $4. Yeah, for $4. I remember liking this game a lot because it had good co-op. But it was even the kind of co-op where like you did have to stay within like the circle. But it was actually pretty large for the time, considering this was a PS3 and 360 game.
Yeah, 360 game. It would have had that kind of limitation, but still was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I might pop that in at some point just because my PS3 is hooked up. But yeah, so that's it for just tiny little pickups, but more stuff for the shelves.
By you, Matt.
Nice. My youngest son has now become obsessed with the Ninja Turtles game, Shredder's Revenge.
Okay.
So I've literally been playing that for about a week and a half now. Same stage, like just playing through the entire game. Thankfully I bought it on Switch with the DLC content, and it was relatively, I think it was like $16, $15, something like that. So it's cool because I don't have that on the Xbox. So it's nice to see the two people that they have. What is that? Kiari, I think, and the rabbit. I forgot his name.
I forget his name too. He wasn't a big character back then.
Yeah.
No.
Those were like the ancillary characters where it's just like, we made these up for the show.
But like I said, he's been addicted to it. Like he saw a video on it, and then he was like, and I showed him at it, and everybody in my entire house has been playing Turtles with him. So it's like, and what makes it even bad is my older son is grounded right now. So like his punishment is to play Turtles with his little brother.
That's good.
That's a good one.
So it's been fantastic. I did go ahead and play the COD beta.
Black Ops 6.
Yeah, so that's been interesting.
Is it good?
It's a COD game. I mean, honestly, it's nothing new, nothing inventive, nothing like groundbreaking. I was really hoping that instead of like the multiplayer where you're just like playing like, the special matchups or whatnot, they would give you like maybe like one level of the game so you can like see what the story is progressing into. But no, it was just all multiplayer stuff, and I hate playing multiplayer COD games now because
Tell me about the video store you can shoot up.
Is that in the beta?
Yeah,
it's not. Is it?
I thought that was part of it because I swear I saw clips of it.
I heard something about a video store.
Maybe it got
like a level.
I don't know.
Okay, they could have done that too. I could see that.
Actually, no. I know what you're talking about. It's a specific level. It's interesting.
I just thought it was cool. There's a section for laser discs in there.
It's very cool.
How big is the install for that?
Damn, I didn't even pay attention to it.
Because like I think it's open because you were telling me you got to code through Xfinity, and I'm like, I fucking have Xfinity. They never sent me anything.
But yeah, it is a rewards thing. I got one of those too, and I
never got one, and I was like, whatever. But I believe this weekend's open for everybody.
Yeah.
So I might look at it this weekend and just see, because I kind of want to see this video store thing for myself.
I mean, again, it's if you like Call of Duty games, I mean, you're gonna enjoy this one. I just don't feel like for me, it's not for me anymore. Like, if I get it on Game Pass, I'll definitely play through the story because that's what I've always enjoyed. But like, I still play Warzone periodically. I don't really need anything else multiplayer based because I don't know. I feel like belittled when I play Call of Duty games with the amount of people that are playing in there.
Tell me this: did you ever get taken to the Diddy room?
No.
To the Diddy basement?
What is the Diddy? No, what is the Diddy basement?
Oh my god! So you know the new mechanic for this multiplayer mode, right?
Yeah,
the human shield.
So
yeah,
where you can talk. That has proximity chat when you do that.
Oh god!
So that's like
I didn't know that part.
That's the meta of the game is like people capturing you and that, and like I've seen one where like they grab two people and make them kiss.
That reminds me of like 360 days of online.
It's like we're trending back that way, but apparently there's one level where there's like a secret basement bedroom or something.
Okay.
Where the kids catch you and they take you down to the Diddy room, and
oh my god,
it's crazy as hell. Like it's just I don't like. I get what it's going for, but I don't think this is.
That's not what they wanted.
It might not last super long, but you know what the thing is? It's going to make content for streamers, so it definitely that's what it's for.
Yeah,
it's for content.
But yeah, not for me.
I'm in the same boat as you with Call of Duty. Like I will download this on Game Pass to play the campaign. Maybe look at the zombie mode if they do something cool with it. Because this is a Treyarch one, right? Black Ops. They're still the Treyarch team. Okay, so they might do something cool with zombies, but I might try like a match. Realistically, if I download this weekend, I'll play a match or two of the multiplayer and be like, I'm good, and never touch it.
And that's kind of how I felt too. Like I played, I think like 4 or 5 rounds, and I just was like, yeah, that was fun.
A lot of it is you're going against people that have been playing this for 15, 16, 17 years every day.
Either that or those kids who have developed like new sliding shooting techniques, and it's just like at this point you're just like, man, I'm too old for this.
Yep.
I am way too old to be having to slide through everybody. But yeah, I mean, you know, if you like it, you like it. I did also pick up a game that Kyle told me about, but didn't really tell me about. Kyle was talking to me, and he decided to tell me Gym Manager. That's the one, right?
Gym Manager is the name of the game that I told you to get. It's not the game that you got, though.
No. I bought Gym Simulator 2024, and I played about, like I said, about 40 minutes to an hour of it before we jumped on tonight, and it's actually pretty simple. It's pretty simple, and it's pretty easy, so I'm going to hopefully jump into it some more and just kind of see what it's about. And then I put the other game on my wish list, and I'll go ahead and maybe jump into that too, just to see what it's about. Because the mechanic that you're talking about, as far as like sabotaging other people thing, when I was like loading up this game, it seems like that's what they're working on for this one too.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because they're also working on a multiplayer one to come into this one as well.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I saw it today, actually. There's another supermarket simulator update where they did a lot more quality of life stuff, so I got to look at it. I haven't looked at it yet.
So wild.
But I'll
check it. Put it on console. That's my quality of life.
They need to put the real version.
I want the real
one. Console.
I will play a lot of the real one. I don't want any of these clones.
But yeah, as far as it goes, that's all I've done. Haven't really gotten to too much. I did end up buying, like I think you told me about it, I bought Tunic for Switch.
Yeah, that's a great game. I sent you a link to that because it was on sale.
So I'm super excited to dive into that because I played a lot. I played a good chunk of it on Xbox, and then it reminded me that I still never finished Link's Awakening for Switch. So now I got to finish that too.
Oh, yeah, you should do that too.
And I really want to buy that new Zelda game too. So, I mean, this is shit that I don't need.
Yeah, my 2 September games, which ironically are, of course, out week within each other, are Dead Rising and the Zelda game. So
I have
Zelda's not going to go on sale anytime soon.
No, that'll be 40 in 2 years for a week. Yeah, I think my 3 reserves right now are Zelda, Dead Rising, Dragon Quest.
That makes sense.
That's about it.
I have that. I have
nothing else.
Too, so.
I'm excited for those. Those are going to be.
No,
awesome.
I'm excited for those as well.
But yeah,
I also have Silent Hill reserve, so
you have to.
I'm gonna feel the pain of that in a month or so. That's a month away. That seems crazy to me that that's already only a month away.
For now.
Yeah, for now. I can totally see that getting pushed to March.
Slitterhead reserve in yet?
No. I did see that, since you mentioned it though, I did see like recently it got some actual like positive like
I saw that too. So, like, that's why I brought it
maybe it'll be all right, but I would not pay full price for it.
No.
That's it's going to be 20, I'll check it out as an oddity.
At best, that game's an Evil Within level of
horror. That's what I could hope for.
Best. Which is not a bad level to be, but that's,
no, it's not. But
that's
like,
the ceiling for that game.
Boy, what a bad first impression that game.
Yeah, that was
left.
Awful.
So yeah, like oh man. But we kick over to news because there's been a lot of crazy. It's been a crazy 2 weeks. We got one thing in particular that's really crazy that we'll get to, which is funny because the first news article we have in here is about Foam Stars going free to play.
An online hero shooter going free to play.
Thank
not
God.
Canceled.
Foam Stars.
Yeah,
not canceled. Not pulled down.
Yikes.
Free to play.
Beginning of
has that already started?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't happen for a while, I'm pretty sure. Okay. But the thing is that game basically was free to play because it was given away for free for Plus members for like that first period of time.
I remember that. It was like February.
Yeah, I can't imagine people actually bought it. And remember, the microtransactions in that game were hellish. I'm talking like $50 for certain things. So it going free to play just means Square's given up and it's going to be gone soon. So maybe I do need to go back and I guess maybe I should try for the trophies, but that game doesn't even have a platinum. So what do I even care?
True. Do you remember this? It was a combination or it was a partnership between Bandai Namco and Amazon Game Studios, Blue Protocol.
Yeah, I was actually.
I guess both
I would
were
say
like talked
somewhat
about it when
interested in
it
it.
originally was announced.
Yeah.
Not going to come over here any longer, and is going to be. The Western release has been canceled entirely. Japanese users will have until the 18th of January to keep playing the game, and at that point, it'll be taken offline. So another big MMO online to be part of that graveyard.
Another one bites the dust, man.
Which is a very large graveyard.
Kind of. Yeah, I was thinking about that when that got announced. It's like, man, Phantasy Star is still running. I'm kind of surprised.
It's still running. It's still going strong.
Kind of surprised.
And I bet you if I were to load it up right now, you probably see a lot of people.
Yeah, and it always has like some kind of event thing going on too.
It does.
But I'm kind of surprised it hung around. I need to go back and play some.
In this weird era that we're in that I love, where all these like PS1 era platformers are getting remastered, Croc is now getting remastered.
It's a weird one.
Because it's crazy to me that's almost become its own genre. PS1 platformers.
It is.
Are getting remastered, but I think it's a cool thing. So, Croc, I don't know if I ever played it. Honestly, I'm trying to remember.
I didn't have a PS1. I remember it, so it just never was a game I played.
I can remember going into the video store. I can remember seeing it on the wall, but I don't remember if I ever rented it or not. Yeah, I definitely remember picking up the box and looking at it and probably going, and putting it back. But I don't.
And I mean, this was remember. A generation of Spyro, Crash,
Gex.
Yeah, like I would have been more. I would have gravitated more towards like Gex or Spyro or something like that. Even Crash.
Yeah.
So in that era, but I don't.
Something about playing a crocodile doesn't really get me going.
I'll check it out though. Let's talk about the other big release that's been kind of not as big of a disaster, but we're getting there. Star Wars Outlaws, which is a quadruple A game that was released last week. Released in early. I should point this out.
Was it only last week?
It was only last week. If you bought, because it was the Friday before Labor Day.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you bought the $130 edition of this game, one of the big perks was playing it 3 days early. Here's the problem. They put out... So, in that 3 days, it was discovered the game has a bad save glitch. Their solution... Among other glitches. The solution that they came up with in this period was to roll out a patch and tell users who bought this game 3 days early, start over with a new save file.
That's so crazy.
I can't imagine paying $130 for a game and being told that, and their like big ol' fix for people was just to give them some digital in-game item for the game.
Garbage.
It's pretty bad. And the Star Wars Outlaws has not done well, which I'm gonna scroll down to that too, so we can cover it all right now. So it has come out in at least early reports for Ubisoft, at least with their shareholders, that the game's not performing well at all. I'm not surprised at all.
No, I'm not either.
We're in this weird era of like, I'd say like 80% of people that are Star Wars fans are out at this point because of all the stuff that's gone on with the TV shows and the movies.
Well, not only that, wouldn't you, like, just quick, like, you're a Star Wars guy, like, wouldn't you just agree that, like, this is overload?
Yeah.
It's too much. No, like, if you put out this Star Wars Outlaws game 5 years ago, like let's say this game came out during the trilogy of movies they put out
after 9,
I would have been more inclined to play it because I think the idea of it is cool. But just watching just compilations of the glitches that are in this game, it is, I won't say it is WWE 2K20 level, but it's pretty close. Some of the stuff weird. I've seen.
I saw one where they went up to stealth kill some guy, but it was actually like 20 guys stacked on top of each other.
I've seen
like the guys like peeled off as that happened and they died.
I saw one where she punched a stormtrooper, and when the stormtrooper punched her back, she was punched so far she flew out of the map.
Yeah,
I saw one where she went to go jump on the speed bike, and the speed bike just took off without her on it.
Excellent.
She stood there watching it, and then the best part was if the guy stood long enough that the speed bike came back to her.
That's hot. That's really good.
That's a good one.
That one.
My other favorite one was there's one where stealth is a big part of the game.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she's going through a vent where somebody sees her and they call in a bunch of like Imperial stormtroopers and stuff, and they stand there all looking at her. So he just like moves back like 2 feet, the guy playing, and they just sit there and they look, and then they go, "It's all clear," and then they just all kind of stand there looking at her in the vent, but saying it's all clear. It's a mess.
Wouldn't you argue too that like this game is partially failing because they've had 2 other Star Wars games not that long ago before this, those Jedi Survivor games, which were universally liked and people seem to enjoy at least.
Here's what I'll say. As far as those go, here's what I'll say. The first one was. The second one, if you remember, because I bought it day one and I was excited about it. I've played 2/3 of it maybe. Was super broken at launch. And that's why I stopped playing it. It was unplayable. And again, that's completely different studio, but same franchise. And that was for me personally, that was kind of at the point where I was getting to the like, I think I'm kind of done with this for a while as a franchise. Like it's overload. There's too much going on. There's too many movies. Well, not even movies necessarily, but too many TV shows and this and that. And then on top of it, you put this game out, and like even taking out the argument of like what they did with the character, like why she looks
that's not even the problem.
Yeah, it's a game that's fundamentally broken for most of it, and people are just tired of Star Wars. There's too much of it. And I've said before, and I'll continue to say, like, they need to pump the brakes on everything else and just put out this Mandalorian movie and give it a while.
And be done with it.
For a while. Like a couple years, and then start something new. That's what they should do.
Do you think there's any hope for this game at this point? Or it's a Suicide Squad, it's over?
I will say, I think this game has hope because it is an Ubisoft game, and Ubisoft never abandons their games. Look at Rainbow Six. Remember how broken that was when it launched?
It was pretty bad at the start, yeah.
Like, they haven't really abandoned Skull and Bones, so like they're still pumping out content.
Pumping out seasonal content.
Like Ubisoft is that one developer who, like, even if they put out something broken, I think the other one was not the Ghostland, was it not Wildlands, but the one after
Breakpoint.
Breakpoint was broken at launch, but they stuck with it and fixed that stuff.
It wasn't.
So by the time you got around to it, it was fine.
Yeah.
So they have a history of sticking with shit, and I think they will. And I think maybe like a year from now, this game will be fine at a much reduced price.
30,
so
$29.99.
Because even with single player stuff, they tend to go back and fix. Far Cry 6 had some glitches and bugs. That's perfectly playable now. It's not my favorite Far Cry game, but it is perfectly playable now. So I think they'll stick with it. I don't think they'll abandon it. At the same time, I don't know if you'll ever get a Star Wars Outlaws 2.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think they're gonna just completely abandon this game either. But I also think, as you know, it's an Ubisoft game. It's gonna be on sale real soon.
Yeah.
And with the poor sales, that's just gonna make it quicker. So that
game could be $20 by holiday.
I've seen would Assassin's not be Creed surprised.
Games do it every year.
Do you remember, this is what I was trying to remember the other day, when you and I were at the store, there was a game, and I want to say it was an Ubisoft game, but I could be wrong, and it released on a Tuesday, because that was back how it was back then, and by that weekend, they had put it on sale, because I remember there were people that had reserved it that were mad, and we had to do the return and resell it, give them like their $20.
Sure.
Because it was $20. I cannot remember what game it was, but I want to say it was an Ubisoft game.
I don't remember, but it definitely sounds like something that had happened.
It was in that time, because it was one of those, and I'd never seen that happen before. Like, we both knew, we were both at the point where, like, okay, it's an Ubisoft game. I'm probably not going to get it day one because it'll go on sale. But that was the fastest I had ever seen.
God, what could it have been?
And that's what I'm trying. I don't think it was an Assassin's Creed. Usually those are a couple weeks.
Would take a couple months. by holiday, Assassin's Creed would always be $20-$30.
Yeah,
because it was overproduced and oversold.
Yeah.
I'm trying. If it was a Ubisoft game, and we were there.
When did Primal come out?
Oh, you know
Primal.
what?
Could have been.
We were there. We were there for sure because we were still there for 5.
No, I was not there for 5.
I was.
5 was okay. 5 was a little bit later.
But Primal
could have been Primal.
Primal's a good one. That could have been it.
Because that was that weird in between.
Because I think that came out and just I don't remember people buying that game very much.
It was heavily marketed, but we did not have a lot of reserves for it.
Yeah.
We did have people that bought it, but it wasn't highly reserved. And I want to say that could have been it.
That sounds. If it's anything, that's a top 3 guess.
Okay.
Because I was trying to think like Rainbow Six. It wasn't because people bought that no matter what.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed. It wouldn't have been. Maybe some other weird one-off Ubisoft game. Maybe it wasn't Watch Dogs.
No.
Watch Dogs sold like crazy.
Watch Dogs 1 sold really well. I remember.
That game is not very
great.
good. It did sell quite a bit, and someone who did that game. It's not very good.
We both no,
came close. You couldn't do the drinking game.
The drinking game was what
that
broke
last drinking game in that game was fucking garbage. And it got to the point where they realized it was so bad that they patched it.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, I did get the platinum in 2 though.
Yes, 2.
And I really enjoyed 2.
2's a good
2
game.
Is really good.
Yeah, Legion not very.
I couldn't get into Legion at all.
It was difficult for me to even get to the point that I did. And
it had a cool idea on paper, but then actually going into it, it
didn't work.
It fell apart. So I would have rather had just a protagonist with a story.
Yeah.
So, but I'm going to say it was Primal. That seems like a good guess.
I like that guess.
But yeah, so I think though being an Ubisoft game, they'll stick with it and fix it, but I don't see them making a sequel. So this one is a bummer. Visions of Mana developer reportedly has been shut down by NetEase. They were shut down the day of release for this game, which is really sucks.
Garbage.
Just more
game reviewed very well.
Game reviewed pretty well, but it was
people like the demo.
There's not even enough time for that game to be out and just like let's get an idea of the
There's no chance.
sales
like
numbers,
guys. They had no chance.
Nothing.
By being cut off.
Which tells you that was a decision that was made long before. Long before. Somebody said this game is releasing and we're going to put out a press release and shut it down. Which is strange because I know that the Mana series isn't like the most popular thing Square's got going.
There's a group of people that are into it.
But after Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, Mana's probably right there because they don't own Tomb Raider. They don't own.
No.
As a Square guy, what else they got? Star Ocean?
I'd argue it's in the. I would put it above Star Ocean, but it's in that.
It's in the Star Ocean tier.
Yeah.
You could always count on there being a release of it every couple years.
I was gonna say you can at least count on Star Ocean to have a entry each generation.
Yeah, 1 or 2.
At least 1.
Yeah,
maybe 2.
And you can count on me to play them and say that they're okay.
It's a bummer though.
Yeah.
So they didn't even get a chance. And like, what sucks about it too is like, okay, like the game reviewed well, people like it. What's the chance of getting another one?
It means nothing.
Series? It means nothing.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest bummer of it. So, but flipping that around, as I predicted earlier this year, Rocksteady is laying off staff, following Suicide Squad being just a humongous flop of a game. I mean, obviously they lost $200 million on this game, which is
somebody had to take the fall, right?
Someone had to take the fall.
Even if it wasn't their decision to do half the stuff in this game, or if it was pressure from outside, somebody had to take the fall, and it's them.
Yeah,
and it's this kind of thing where like that studio's not going to close because the name means something.
The name means something,
and they're going to also heavily rethink the next thing that they're doing.
Do you think? Let's say this. Do you think that if this MetaQuest game is successful, because it's set in the Arkham universe,
sure,
Do you think that would give them any incentive to make another Batman Arkham type game? It doesn't necessarily have to be in that trilogy because that story's done.
It is.
But you could do another Batman game.
I think you'd have to, if you're going to do that, I think you have to set it outside of what already exists and treat it almost like a comic book thing where they could get away with it being like, make a Batman Beyond game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just do that.
There was a while ago, there was the Damian Wayne thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which seems crazy. Yeah. But like,
yeah, there was that too.
Make Batman Beyond with this engine. Like,
people would buy the shit out.
I think that would sell. And you don't, guess what? It means you don't need Kevin Conroy. Like, obviously you'd want him for like older Bruce, but you could argue he would sound different as older Bruce, and it would be,
you could get someone.
There's a way around it.
Just get Troy Baker.
Get Troy Baker to impersonate Indiana Jones pretending to be Batman. Do that.
There you go.
But I think that's a safe decision that would still work.
Would sell.
My fear is that they're going to be like, guys, what if we just like remake Arkham Asylum? Because that would also sell. You don't want it. I don't want it either. It would sell because it would be like, oh, I remember that game being good. I'll play the remake of it. And there is some room to remake that one.
If they were to do a remake, do you think they'd do the Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater thing?
Where it's almost like a director's cut
voice,
kind of thing?
Well, they keep all the same voice acting.
As long as they've still got it, they could do that. But I feel like it's difficult because then that means you couldn't add content.
Yeah.
So maybe you don't, and maybe you get a sound alike or something else. But Rocksteady's not going to go anywhere for now. I think the safest things are new game, Batman Beyond type stuff. Or just,
I don't think you're getting any more content for Suicide Squad.
No. I think
that's done.
Or just make the fucking Superman game, man.
I don't understand why they haven't done, like, especially
now is the time.
Is the time to be developing it.
Yes.
Because I will be shocked if we get to next summer and that movie is not a huge hit. It's been long enough that there has not been a new solo Superman movie.
I think that movie has a chance, but I think you also have to temper your expectations. Because you don't know. You don't know anymore what they're going to do. But you have more faith now. But Superman has never really ever been like a hugely popular character amongst like our generation. You and I like Superman. And we've had a couple shows here and there. But like he's never really been like Batman's obviously number one kind of a thing.
Yeah. For our generation, it was more Batman because that's what came out at the time.
Right.
A little bit before our generation would have been Superman
before us.
Christopher Reeve.
Then we got the Batman content.
Grew up on wearing out VHS tapes, Superman 1 and 2. But I can agree. But I think that now is the time to at least try to do a Superman game.
There's a movie coming up. Presumably that movie's getting a sequel. So there's 2 movies coming up.
You also can't tell me that guy that's playing Superman would not be unopposed to doing a little voice work for a game. It's not like he's a household name yet.
I don't know if you want to do that, though, because then you tie the game to the movie.
But the thing I would argue there is they did, like James Gunn did put out that they were tying all this together, including games.
Right, but I think the Batman Arkham series was more successful because it wasn't tied to the existing Batman movies.
Oh, I agree with that.
And, you know, they did make Batman Begins on the Cube, and that game's fine. But you're locked into what the movies do at that point. So it's better to just like, this is a Superman game running alongside the Superman movie. And again, do the thing in the game where it's like, it's not an origin story. He's Superman. You know who Superman is. He's an alien guy.
It does sound like that's what they're doing for the movie.
Well, no, and that's good too, but I think the game needs to do it too. Like, we don't need origin stories for any of this stuff anymore. Yeah. We all know who all of these people are multiple times.
I would argue even more than Batman, Superman's origin is one you do not need to repeat.
No, because there's not much to it. He's a kid that grew up here.
Yeah.
Right? That's you can
get away with doing like a flashback or 2.
Sure.
And that's fine.
But we don't need the whole thing.
Flashback stealth missions where you play as young Clark, and then you watch your dad die in a tornado.
There you go.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, so let's do something like that. Maybe the best thing for them is to just like get away from Batman and get away from, because like obviously kill the Justice League, Superman and Flash and everybody show up, but like this could be a new Superman. This could be its own thing. Yeah. Keep Harley and Joker the hell away from it. Are there even any Superman? I mean, Brainiac is a villain in Suicide Squad. Is there anybody else
in that game villain-wise
that are like a Superman? I don't think so.
Oh,
I mean, to be fair, he doesn't have the best rogues gallery.
He does. Like that's the thing. It's like you can think of
Bizarro,
your couple main
Metallo.
ones. Yeah, I was thinking of the one guy. His name is like Mister. Yeah, I can never say that guy's name.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's the one I always think of. So, but yeah, he doesn't. It's like they spend all their time on Batman's rogue gallery. They kind of
then why not? Then why don't you make a Superman game where like Bizarro? I mean Zod. Obviously, we forgot Zod, but like you do like him versus Bizarro, and then at the end it like hints that Brainiac is coming. Okay, there we go. We're done. But we'll have to see how this all shakes out. I don't want Rocksteady to go away just because
I don't either.
They've proved themselves 3 times, essentially.
If anything, it's just more of a shame that was 9 years of that studio's lifespan to put that game out. And now, now we're going to see obviously the layoffs and stuff from it, but it would be nice to see them bounce back with something.
Yep. Something new.
And I think they at least have a shot to do that before.
I think most people would give them the benefit of a doubt as long as the next thing is not just another Batman.
Or another live service game.
I think we've learned that lesson.
I think if anything that's been learned in 2024, it's the death of live service games.
There's a way to make a live service game, and none of these companies know how to do it.
Which is a great segue for our biggest story of the week. And I'm going to start it by reading an email. This comes to us from Grant from Indianapolis, Indiana. Hi, guys. What is going on with Sony? Concord is being pulled from sale. Refunds are being given. This is all so incredibly crazy. Has this ever happened before? Sure, Microsoft hasn't had the greatest generation in terms of getting games out the door. I can't recall any of their games essentially being recalled. How does Sony climb back from this? I mean, this was a good chunk of their last PlayStation showcase. So yeah, in a shocking move that I don't think anyone predicted.
Not this soon.
Not this soon.
And not to this extent.
Within a 2-week period, Concord is completely being it is shut down as of today. I was recording.
It's gone.
Copies of it. I had forgotten that the game was out physically until this was announced. Copies of it have been pulled from shelves. They are refunding everybody that bought the game. It is going away. And they've been very coy in their statement that they have not said it's completely dead. Like, I do feel like they're going to retool it and put it back out later as a free-to-play thing.
They said that while some people resonated with what we were trying to do, we realized that this isn't working. So we're going to pull it and we're going to rethink it and rework it, and we'll let you know what's going on. To me,
that we're not going to do anything with it.
And you could take that both ways. You could take that as either this is the PR statement for we're never going to talk about it again, or this is the PR statement for in 6 months it's free to play. We've reworked the progression and we've reworked some of the story and the character. Like, we gave it a story as opposed to these dumbass vignettes no one ever cared about. How many of those are produced that you'll never see?
A lot.
Right? At least a handful, 4 or 5.
Because I have to imagine, again, this another thing to point out.
They have other characters ready to go, I'm sure, and those vignettes take a long time to make.
I saw the number was either 200 or 250 million.
I've seen both, but 250 seems to be the one that everybody's using.
So let's say 50 million of that was spent on marketing. How much of that marketing money was spent on these vignettes?
It's just crazy. And for it, not only for it to be pulled, but for it to be, if you bought it digitally, we're just going to give you a refund. Physically, they can't do much, although I heard some retailers were saying that you could bring it back and get your money back because they can get their money back from Sony, I'm sure.
But again, a lot of it is it went to retailers and people didn't buy it.
There's that's that too. Like I know a lot of GameStops only got one copy.
The main reason this is shutting down is people didn't buy it. Which
played it.
Which equates to nobody is playing the game, so you cannot get into matches because there are no players. This game doesn't have any kind of bots.
At one point, it tipped under 100.
Yeah, I think the most, like the numbers before they announced the shutdown, it was under 100. Obviously, it jumped up because people are trying to get trophies in the game that have it before it gets shut down. There are, we talked about the crazy people out there that are trying to buy and resell the game, but it's
people have this thought in their head that this is like immediately collectible, and it will be collectible simply because it's scarce and you shouldn't own it. But it's also for a game that does not work. No one wants in the first place. And unless you're trying to get a complete PS5 collection, which there are people that do, but they're already probably bought it, there's no reason to own it. There's no Concord fans.
There cannot be anything on that disc, and
that disc
you're not going to be able to put it in. Even if there was, you wouldn't be able to put it in and do anything with it.
No, because there's no online servers. Patch, right?
It would be as useless as owning a copy of MAG.
Right, and that's what a lot of people are like trying to compare it to. But the thing is, MAG existed for years. It was just an online service game that got shut off. People think that this is like a new thing. This isn't a new thing. No. It's just it's a new thing because it happened in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Because at one point there were less than 100 people playing it. That's crazy. That's not even enough for 10 full games that can be running at one time.
Yeah.
What was the meme I sent you today? My groceries lasted longer than Concord.
Yeah. Or there's the one where it's like comparing Chrono Trigger to Concord.
That's a good one too.
Yeah. But for a game that took 8 years to make, $250 million to make, for it to be, officially revealed, right? 3 months ago. Like, that's the other thing we're not talking about. It's not like we knew everything about this game a year ago, and it finally came out and nobody played it now.
Yeah.
We just learned what this game was.
There was no long public road to Concord.
No.
We knew of it by its name maybe like a year ago.
Right.
And then I think, wasn't it a year ago at the press conference we saw that original like spaceship?
It was a thing like inside
you had no idea
the spaceship.
What it was.
There was like a cheeseburger. It had no clue what it was. It looked like it could. Your initial thought, if you saw that, would be like, oh, a space exploration game.
Yeah.
Not even.
That's what most people thought.
Not even close. It's so far away from anything it could have been from before.
So for them to spend, like, wasn't it like almost half of that press conference in May?
It was almost 30 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah. They spent a lot of time on this there.
They showed
3 months before its launch.
Because remember, they showed like that whole cutscene thing, and you're like, okay, this looks like maybe it's a space heist game. I could get down with that. Nope, not even close to what it is. And then it turns out it's like, oh, I used to work at Bungie, and we used to work at Activision. It's like, oh shit, they just made the game they've already made before. With new people.
Also again, and then it also at a time to compete with Overwatch and to have the cast of characters that this game has, which I don't think many people could relate to any of them if that's what you care about. But also, like, Overwatch, at least the argument you can make there is like there are a lot of characters in that game, but they all are interesting and unique looking.
Yes,
where it's like, okay, yeah, there's a fucking gerbil in a ball that rolls around. Cool. But there's at least something interesting there. None of these characters looked interesting. They're all generic looking.
They all look like ripoffs of existing properties.
They do.
And they all have names that are ripoffs of existing properties. And it's just everything about the game just didn't stand out. And it didn't stand out enough to the point where you wanted to pay $40 to be able to play.
It's not even a full $70 game. It's $40.
But you didn't want to pay $40 to play an Overwatch clone that started development when Overwatch was released.
And you know why Sony went hard in on this is because Helldivers did so well earlier this year.
That's part of it.
All right, we had a slam dunk with that. Here's our next live service
game. Here's a PlayStation exclusive, which we don't have many, so we've got to lean into those.
And that's the other important thing to point out. This game is exclusive to PS5, but was also on PC.
And nobody played it there either.
Not get enough people to make a match work at a certain point.
This is just it's a colossal failure on almost every level. And
like even people played the beta, like even those people that would say like, okay, I'll try the beta. Because the beta numbers were like double, triple of what the actual game was. Yeah. The people that did try and play the beta said, "No, I'm good."
Well, the new conspiracy theory about this is now that they've essentially recalled it and they're giving refunds. Yeah. In theory, the game didn't turn a profit, which means that they could somehow like write it off for tax purposes, like Batgirl style,
like the movie. I was gonna say like some of these movies.
If that is what this ends up being, just a giant tax write-off. Whoa. I don't think that's what
I don't think that's what's going to happen.
I still think I'm leaning more towards this game will come back.
I think it takes a year, and I think it shows up at one of the conferences as, hey, this is, we've retooled Concord. It's coming to Plus.
I bet you it has a PvE in it.
Yeah.
That PvE mode immediately makes the game more appealing to more people, because you don't have to play it online against other people. If it's a co-op game and not a versus game, more people are interested.
Here's the other reason why I think that you see that. Because this article came out today. I put this towards the end here, but remember they showed that Prime Video show? Mm-hmm. The video game show is going to show things. That Concord episode is still going to happen and air.
Well, they produced it. They might as well put it out.
So, was it called Secret Level? I think was the show.
But how could you tell me that was even going to be a factor for this game anyway, if it's its own little stupid story?
I mean, they made so many vignettes. What's to say that wasn't probably an idea for one of the vignettes, and they were like, yeah, sure, you can have this.
It's just, everything about this is just...
I can't think of another game that this happened to that fast.
I was trying to think of, in all my years of working video game retail, was stuff ever recalled?
Yeah,
and I can only think of a couple.
Okay, but nothing this fast.
No, and not for this reason, and not because it was bad. Because obviously San Andreas got recalled.
Yeah,
but it didn't really. Basically, all that happened is I remember when that happened. We had a copy at the store, and it was still sealed, and it was when the rating changed from M to AO. And most companies had a policy in place where if it went AO, we don't sell AO games, period. So most places pulled from the shelf. At Game Crazy, all we did was we slapped a sticker on it over the cellophane. It basically said AO, and we would just have to check ID. It didn't matter because I just ended up buying it. Because it was like, this is a weird thing. I'll put it on a shelf somewhere and it'll go away. Kind of like the Concord thing, I guess, in a way. But it's just, it's an original copy. And I didn't own San Andreas. So it's like, I'll just buy San Andreas. There's that. There is the Guy game, infamous because that had to get pulled from shelves because it turns out one of the girls in that game was underage.
Oh, yeah.
And lied about her age. And then they released this thing. That game's a DVD game that works in your PS2 and Xbox.
It's like an adult scene.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny because she's 17, you see people online when it comes up in like game collecting circles or like posts, what is this game? That's illegal. That's child porn. You're going to get arrested for owning it. All right, pump the brakes a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen to you if you own the game, but maybe don't sell it and advertise that you're selling it because it has an underage girl in it.
It might be the one. Yeah.
So there was that. And then there were two that were recalled for other reasons. Kakuto Shojin, that Xbox game, got pulled because it had, I think, a song in it or something about that had like Muslim chants that said something in it, and it was like, oh, you can't sell that. So that got pulled. That had been out for a little while. And then the other one, the only other one,
have that one or no?
I have that copy of that.
Okay.
But again, that game was released and was out, and you could buy it at one point. There's one game I can remember being recalled that was never sold, and we had to send it back, was the original Little Big Planet for PS3. Like 2 days before that game was supposed to release, we got this memo. This is a Game Crazy that said, immediately pull these out of like wherever you're going to set them and send them back. We can't sell them anymore. And we're like, okay. And it's because that game has like Muslim related chants mixed in with music as well. The original copies of that game have that. And this wasn't at a time where they could have just been like, I guess they could patch it. They could have. These days, you would just patch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that was also in that interim where they weren't thinking about that.
But these were original PS3 disc copies, and I specifically remember like that was right before we had to put it out. So that was an interesting one because it's. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but original Little Big Planet was recalled right before sale. So then it ended up being like the release date got moved like 2 weeks or so they could print and send us copies that didn't have it on it. Because remember, those are also Blu-ray discs, so they were a lot. That was new tech at the time.
Yeah, it was.
And it was like you couldn't just fucking start the machine up again and rip off some more copies.
Yeah.
So that was a weird thing. I don't remember many other. But the Concord's a new one, man. Like this, for a game to come out, be readily available, people have played it and owned it, and for it to just be like fucking shut down.
It's crazy. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I think the last episode we were talking like 6 months. Like,
yeah, well, because that was
give
the
it a little bit.
Guess.
Yeah,
they had their timeline planned through April.
Yeah,
they had all that stuff. You and I have both been on record saying this game isn't going to make it.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I never would have guessed.
No one would have predicted 2 weeks. We're just going to say it didn't happen.
That they would choose to kill it.
That's the crazy part.
Yeah. Foam Stars is still going, or it was.
Yeah.
Technically,
honestly,
it's just going free to play.
Honestly, because of how much of an embarrassment, I think it was the right call to kill it, though.
I don't know if there is another option at this point.
It was literally every day me opening up Twitter or something and just seeing meme after meme after meme of, well, here's the player count today, and it's.
Were
just
you really going to let it just die a very slow death over 6 to 8 months?
Yeah.
No, it's probably better to rip it out, make a statement saying, we need to pull it. But then here's the thing. You need to go hard into fixing this, and you need to come up with something. Because just making it free to play isn't enough. Because then it's just the same game. Nobody paid for it.
Yeah, so I agree. Right. Like it needs to have a PvE mode or something to balance it out.
Yeah. And they're gonna have to figure out a way to make it good for people who do own it, I guess. If they could tell that you're playing it off a disc in 6 months when they launch the game, they give you something. I don't know. I don't know what the real solution is outside of a PvE mode, it being free. But the flip side is isn't the damage done?
I think damage is done. Do you think there's let me ask this. Do you think on the flip side of it, there's a chance that they just recall and this is over? It is dead.
Yeah, I think
they don't do anything else.
I think that's on the table. I think that's a majority of the discussions they're having right now. Is do we even bother doing it? Because the other thing we talked about last time is now that it's dead and we got to wait for it to come back. Marvel Rivals is coming in December.
Yeah,
and it's free in the same game.
And it has Marvel characters.
It has fucking Venom in it. That's all you need to know about.
There you go.
Yeah.
So there's competition coming, and there's competition that already exists, and you've already failed. Not many games get a second chance. Remember,
I don't think you
Final Fantasy 14. Final Fantasy 14 is the closest thing you could compare this to.
I can agree with that.
14 came out. You would have assumed that everybody who played 11, like myself, would have jumped straight to 14 and just kept going. But then we played 14, and it was very bad because it was boring as shit. They had broken everything we loved from 11. Half the people I knew that we played, we just went back to 11 because 14 was so bad. So Square finally, whoever made that decision, decided, fuck it, let's tear it down. We're going to literally blow it up in the game. This is a story event in the game. And restart it. And lo and behold, is it more popular than WoW now? It's got to be close.
I think it's more popular than WoW.
Right? It's still going.
Or it's neck and neck.
It just had another expansion. Yeah. It's very good. So this is that's what the success story for them would be to blow it up and bring it back.
I've seen more pushback recently on WoW than I have Final Fantasy 14.
There's almost no pushback on 14. And stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, people just seem to love it.
Concord is whatever the road is. It's very difficult, and it might be difficult enough that they just say, "Never mind."
I think the other reason it was killed so fast is we got TGS coming up in a couple weeks, and you know that this was going to be brought up in interviews for anything Sony related.
Yeah, this also gives them an out to not talk about it.
And now, they're like, well, we killed that. We don't need to talk about it.
No, every argument could be like, we're working, like, we just made the decision to pull it. We're having internal discussions, and that's all I'll have to say. Yeah. They don't have to explain anything.
Yeah, I think that could have been a real disaster, especially like let's say a PS5 Pro is announced in the next 2 weeks, and they have a showcase. After that, there's always press events.
And did they really want to see an article every week or two about how the player count is terrible? Because that's all every day.
And like I said, it was every day. It's like, look at this player count.
Concord is slipping even further. Concord's going down anymore. Like to be fair, every news outlet was milking this story for anything they could.
They could, yeah.
But now that it's dead, the story's over.
And it's dead
until they until they have another show where they're like, okay, guys, we're gonna set the record straight at Concord. We're bringing it back. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
but I don't. It'd have to be something monumental to get people to play it. Turn it into a space heist shooter. Turn it into a 4-player space co-op heist shooter. Yeah, hell yeah, I'm in. I just don't know.
What a crazy thing though. No, never could have predicted that was what was going to happen with it. So
yeah,
especially how much we talked about and kind of joked about it last episode.
That just never seemed like that was the move. But if the tax write-off thing is real, that's the move, right?
I can see it. I can see it.
That's the move.
I can see it.
And that would be even funnier to me. That we couldn't get Batgirl, but we got Concord for 2 weeks.
Couldn't get Batgirl.
Or that Tom and Jerry movie, which I'm pissed.
That's
not Tom and Jerry, the Wile E. Coyote movie. Sorry.
Wile E. Coyote movie.
The Acme movie.
We can do that with Batgirl and Wile E. Coyote, but we can't do it with the Acolyte. Well, which is what we really should like. That's the one I look at. Go, just do it.
People think that's going to happen, don't they?
There's a group of people. So there's two groups. There's a group of people that think that is what's going to happen, and there's another group of people that somehow think it's going to get another season.
Well, you saw that actor was like, "I'm going to do everything I can to make a season 2." It's like
it's the one that said it was his life's goal.
Yeah, no, dude,
just go make something else.
Make something else.
It's
people like you. You can do anything you want.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like that out of the people that are on that show, that person was probably the best actor.
He was on Good Place.
On the show.
Yeah, he was great.
Outside of the Squid Games guy, who again learned English for that show.
Oh, that'll help him for future stuff.
It will, but like that's what you learned English for. The Acolyte, like man. So, but I will laugh if they do a text right off with Concord. But then say, yeah, I would probably do that too, if it was my choice.
If that's an option, that's probably option one.
Yeah, no, I agree. Undead Labs, which has, for whatever reason, and we talked about it, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago because I had played a little State of Decay 2, has been, continuously updating State of Decay 2 all these years while working on State of Decay 3. They're finally going to put out what they're considering their last and final update for State of Decay 2 to completely, fully shift onto State of Decay 3, which, as I read it, seems like a crazy statement to make because it kind of seems like a game that might be posed for 2025, but that's only a good thing at this point. State of Decay 2 has had a really long lifespan of updates. They've done some really cool stuff with that game through free updates. So my hope would be State of Decay 3 gets the same treatment when it comes out. So I just want to see that game in action because we've only seen regular like cutscenes for it. I'd like to see what's been updated, but I thought it was interesting. As far as in the complete opposite end of the spectrum, Black Myth Wukong has now sold over 18 million copies worldwide. Wow. And is the most, I think it is considered the most successful game of 2024 now, isn't it?
It's got to be. I don't think people understand how many copies of a game 18 million. It's a lot.
And again, keep in mind, that's all digital.
That's crazy.
There's no physical version of this game. So it's crazy to me. I need to go back to it. It's on my list. Like, I played it and like I think I said this to you, Matt, earlier this week. It didn't immediately connect with me. It's something that I'll probably gonna put on the shelf for like end of the year when I want to start thinking about what I'm picking as game of the year. Is when I'll probably go and sit and play through it. But I still think it's a cool game. I wasn't like immediately like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever, like a lot of people have. So,
and that's how I felt too. Like when I saw when I saw a friend of mine play it, it was just, it looks good. Like, don't get me wrong, it looks gorgeous. It's just, it reminds me of everything else right now, and I don't know if I can I don't know if I want to pay the price tag to play that again. Like God of War, Elden Ring and all that kind of. Yeah. And I know they're not similar, but they're kind of similar. But it's still one of those things where it's just like, I don't know.
Elements of those, but it's like a Ninja Gaiden. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm down to wait until it drops on sale, and then I can feel confident about getting into it.
Yeah, I think it will at some point here. But yeah, like I said, for me, it didn't immediately click with me. A lot of it had to do with that guy's voice. I don't know. You weren't on the episode last week, but I don't remember if I told you. But yeah, at least for the English voice acting, the voice actor for the monkey, not the voice I would think for a tough, rough character. It was a little higher pitched than I was expecting, so I kind of immediately was taken out like, oh, that's an interesting choice for this character's voice, going up against all these Chinese gods.
Yeah,
like in the first 5 minutes of this game. So, but I will go back to it. I'll give it more of a chance probably at the end of the year, but it is a cool game. But yeah, it didn't immediately click with me. But 18 million copies, like
in 2 weeks.
I don't think it's so weird to see opposite ends of the spectrum. Nobody would have ever predicted the Concord thing. I don't think anybody would have ever predicted this Black Myth Wukong blowing up like the way it
not
is.
In the same amount of time.
Yeah, it is wild to me. We're still talking about a hypothetical PS5 Pro. We're first week into September. There was a graphic that came out celebrating the 30th anniversary, and it sure seems like that leaked drawing.
Boy, it does look like that's the thing in the middle of that graphic.
It kind of seems like that's probably what the PS5 Pro looks like, and it kind of just looks like the same PS5 with a little bit of a different like design in the middle.
It's got some more stripes on it.
But it is important to note that a lot of the recent rumors are that it will not come with an attached disk drive. Does this mean that they're going to sell one, a la carte like they are with the current PS5 model where you can at least buy one with and without? Are they going to do that where there's a version of it with or without? I don't know.
You'd have to prove to me that it's a big enough graphical leap for me to not want a disk drive in my system.
See, and that's the thing. Like every article that I've read from at least the rumors, they're talking like only a 10% difference, and I'm like, that's not enough.
No.
For that high of a price,
for me to have to buy an additional disk drive, like we were talking about it before, but like I waited to buy Baldur's Gate physically, and now I can't use it on my Pro.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what?
I'm already not happy that I'm gonna have to give up the black fins that I bought.
There's that too. Yeah.
Because those aren't going to fit on a PS5 Pro,
nope.
So I'll have to slap those off and find I think the white ones are laying around somewhere, but I did that just so it blended into my entertainment system. But I don't know. At this point, I just want them to fucking announce it so we get it over with. We know what it is. We have a date for it, and then I can make my decision.
Right.
So,
or I could figure out what the cost of trading mine would be towards doing that and make, see what the financials
$100.
Yeah, exactly.
If it would only cost me $100 to upgrade and I could still play my discs, fine. Sure. Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
It's not gonna. It's gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna be more than
minimum 2. I'm guessing.
I think it'll be more than that.
That's why I said minimum.
Yeah.
In keeping with Sony, I put this in as dumbass Sony exec says we don't have enough original IP. I think this was in relation to what they're referring to as the graveyard of IPs that are showing up in Astrobot.
Yeah, because it's a celebration of everything that they used to
make. It is, and it's like, I think that's why the arguments come up like, well, you have a long list of dead IPs that you could revive. Like, what are you talking about?
Even stuff like Ratchet and Clank is dead, and that was on PS4.
There was a fucking movie when that last one came out.
Is there a PS5 version? Like,
there was. It was close to the launch. Remember, that was the thing that Insomniac did before Spider-Man 2.
But even that feels like it's dead. Infamous is dead.
I don't think it's sold very well.
Dead. Like, You have tons of original IPs.
Medieval.
You just choose to do nothing. Resistance.
They remade that game. Like Resistance, Killzone. Like I could see an argument where you could maybe bring Killzone back now. It's been long enough.
You could bring both of those back. They're different games.
PS4 launched with the fucking Killzone game.
Yes, that was
think about that.
One of the few games most people bought.
Wow, there wasn't there. I will always argue the launch lineup for the PS4 was not as strong as the Xbox.
Yeah,
the launch lineup.
Killzone, Need for Speed, Madden.
There was something else. There was, I think, one other PlayStation exclusive game. But Xbox, you had Dead Rising. Rise was actually a pretty decent game. You had Forza, which is always going to kill the competition at this point. So, no, I take it back. I know what the other game was. You know what it is, too. Speaking of racing games, you might remember Drive Club.
Oh, man. The swing and a miss.
What a huge swing and a miss. Yeah. And, but yeah, just what a dumb, it's a dumb comment to make because there's so many things that you could bring back and do.
It sounds like someone who seems out of touch with what Sony used to be.
Familiar with Sony's long history of stuff.
Yeah.
Our final news article, and I hesitated to put this in here, but I figured it was newsworthy enough. And I don't remember if we ever brought up any of this stuff when it originally went down. I want to say maybe somebody had wrote in about it.
Yeah.
After 3 months, Dr. Disrespect has returned to streaming to angrily deny that he sent explicit messages or images to a minor. His new argument now, which we've seen it keeps changing, is that he said these things to anger the journos out.
How weird that an accused pedophile would deny being a pedophile after admitting to being a pedophile.
You can't deny something like that and then go, no, actually I did do it, and then go back to deny. No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did, and then he edited it, and then he deleted it.
That doesn't make any sense. Like reading through, I was reading the statement he put out, and it just says, where did I just say that? Oh, were there Twitch whisper messages with an individual minor back in 2017? The answer is yes. Then why are we?
That's enough, dude.
That's the answer.
Like,
you're a famous internet personality. You shouldn't be tweeting or texting minors privately about anything.
Anything
If anything,
if a minor reaches out to you, you should just be like, block. Or
honestly,
whatever.
You're successful enough as a streamer. You should probably have people handling your messages.
Exactly.
No, that's one thing I agree with.
Zero reason for you to interact or respond with someone who, what'd you say, 14, right? They were 14?
17, I thought.
I thought it was younger.
You were saying it was 2017.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 2017.
But I think they were like 14. Zero reason, dude. Zero. Even if they message you first, like, hey, Dr. Disrespect, I like you as a streamer. Thanks for supporting the channel. Block. Like, you're done, dude.
Done.
That's it.
Yeah.
It should not be anything beyond that. And the fact that he's like, yeah, I did it. No, I didn't plan on meeting up with them. Gee, that sure seems to be what all those people on To Catch a Predator used to say.
I've been watching.
I didn't plan on it.
Dude.
I sent it to you too, Matt. Speaking of that, that guy has a new show. I don't know if you know this.
Fantastic.
It's fantastic. It's not, what is it called? It's not To Catch Predator. It's on like a weird network, but they put clips of it on YouTube and sometimes full episodes.
Yeah.
It's like something with Chris Hansen. And I can't think of the word. That's not Trapped. But man, some of the excuses that I see on that show, and it goes back to all the same tried and true stuff that you'll see, like, oh, well, I was coming over to actually talk to them about like the dangers of meeting people online. Oh, you were with that 6-pack of beer that you had with you. Were you planning on pounding those down? Like, it's insane.
I wasn't planning on meeting up with them at a con.
No, not at all. Like, it's ridiculous.
Come on, man.
Come on. Insane.
But
but again, you know how hard it is for these guys to actually fall. It would have to be something like criminal.
His stream today or yesterday, whenever that was, 250,000 people watched it.
Not going to stop. It's just like the Mr. Beast stuff, man. He's only gotten more followers. Yeah. Doesn't matter.
Only got more.
that stuff will eventually blow up in his face for other reasons.
It will, for sure.
Something real dumb is going to happen with his company or whatever. But yeah, I mean, of course he's back. This was all planned.
He said he was going to come back.
I'll come back, and then I'll just run back the same shitty personality I've had for years, and nothing's going to change.
15 years.
Yeah.
Takedown with Chris Hansen.
Takedown.
That's what it's called.
I remember he liked to say stuff like, or he said something like, that Twitch employee had nothing to do with me when I was there. It doesn't matter, dude. He worked there and he heard it from somebody else, and other people have corroborated the story.
Well, and also like the people at Twitch, they can see that stuff.
You also don't get banned from Twitch for nothing.
No, that's the other thing. Like, especially when you like at the time, didn't he sign like the most lucrative contract?
Yes, he was
in the history of Twitch at the time. He was
one of the faces of Twitch at the time. You don't get banned for nothing.
Kind of like that ninja guy, at that level of like contract.
You've seen the shit that happens on Twitch that people should be banned for, and they are not.
Yeah,
you got banned for something.
Like when people can full on ban on Twitch and get like a week ban, like a slap on the wrist.
Well, remember when they were like,
it's bad when you're getting a permanent ban.
Or how about remember the whole artful nudity thing, and people were pushing the boundaries on that within 2 hours.
2 hours.
Wearing censor bars and stuff, or implying that they were naked the whole time, or some of them actually were, and they were just hiding it.
I thought the most remarkable thing of that still was the VTubers that just immediately had those nude skins ready to go. Like immediately, I was like, "Oh, it's art." So, but again, like you go back to like if somebody can do something like that and get a ban for a week to get a permanent lifetime ban from Twitch,
it's a lot.
You had to have done something really fucking bad.
Something that they were worried about would come back on them.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. We'll continue to watch it.
He'll always be around. Don't worry.
Real quick, I just wanted to share this. I was on YouTube checking for the name of that Chris Hansen thing.
Takedown, yeah.
Yeah, and figuring out, I don't know how many people listen to hip hop out there, but rapper Rich Homie Quan passed away today, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, like literally just popped up. No, they just says the Atlanta rapper has passed away. I was just like, wow, okay, that's kind of wild. But again, don't know how many of y'all listen to hip hop, but just wanted to share that.
That's a name I'm actually familiar with, so that's surprising to me. Yeah. So I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, no, that's pretty crazy. So, well, we can kick that wraps up the news. We can kick over to movies. We got a lot. We have some big things that we've seen. Pretty big movies. So obviously I alluded to at the beginning of the show, I've seen Beetlejuice. I will jump into a full review of that in a minute. But before I talk about Beetlejuice, I'll talk about some of the other stuff that I've watched, including I'll leave one of them till the end because you watched it as well, Dan, so we can both talk about it. But I went through, like, leading up to Beetlejuice, I decided to watch a slew of Michael Keaton movies that I'd either seen bits and pieces of or parts of as a kid and wanted to rewatch. So I watched a couple of these that are just, I don't know. I mean, obviously it's pretty known. Michael Keaton's my favorite actor of all time. So I went and watched a couple of these that I would highly recommend. One of them I don't think is on Blu-ray yet. It's on Max. Some of these are on Max. I was reading this one specifically has not had a release since DVD, but is having a release pretty soon physically. It's a movie from '85 called Gun Ho. I don't know if you've ever heard of this.
Never heard of it.
Fantastic movie. So it is set in a small town. It has Norm from Cheers in it. It's a comedy. And the whole point of it is and it's very much an 80s movie, so keep that in mind. It is a town. The big focus of the town, the reason the town is successful is because they have a auto factory, makes automobiles. Okay, that shuts down. Michael Keaton's character organizes a deal with a Japanese company to come by and reopen the plant to obviously get this town back in business. The whole point of the movie is they have to learn. So he goes over, he brokers this deal. Japanese people come and they buy. This company comes. All these Japanese people come and live in this small, like, I'd say probably southern, Midwestern to southern made up town in America. And the whole point of the movie is they have to learn the different cultures and to get along.
Okay.
Like, well, this is how we do things in America. This is how we do things in Japan. Okay.
Pause you for 1 second. This is 1985?
85.
How racist is this movie?
Surprisingly, there's only one part in the movie where I was like,
really?
You could say that today. Yeah. Because I'm watching it through.
40 years old. Like, you would think.
And that was the thing. I was like, boy, what are they going to do in this movie where I could be like, this might not be something to recommend today. There's only one thing. I will say, there is a slang term used very briefly in the movie that is like one of those, like, it's a throwaway in the movie, but it's the kind of thing where, like, you probably wouldn't say that.
I think I know the word. Yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, like, really, there's nothing in it that's, I would think people would think is offensive today. It's pretty clean cut and surprisingly very funny.
Interesting.
So, highly recommended. It's, like I said, it's called Gun Ho. I believe it is on HBO.
Okay.
Max.
So I have access to it.
It's on the server as well.
Okay.
For you.
I definitely have access to it.
Of course. I watched another one called One Good Cop, which is not a bad movie.
Are these all like Keaton movies you haven't seen before?
These are all Keaton movies that I haven't seen before.
Okay.
Or seen parts of, like, or remember the box.
Sure.
One Good Cop is a good one. It is. He is a cop. His partner is played by Anthony LaPaglia from Without a Trace. Remember that dude?
Yeah.
That's his partner. What happens? Premise of it is he and his partner take down a drug bust. He is a single father. His wife passed away. I think she had cancer or something, and he has 3 daughters. They go into this drug bust. He gets killed.
Ooh.
So he has left guardianship of his 3 daughters to Michael Keaton and his wife. And I'm trying to remember the name of the actress. I can't think of her name right now, but you would know who it is. And so the whole point of the movie is, like, Michael Keaton is kind of on, like, a revenge to take down these drug dealers while also balancing, like, I don't know if I want to be a father to these 3 daughters. And then
so is this
thinking, okay,
some kind of weird hybrid comedy?
There's a little bit of comedy,
like,
a little bit of action.
It would have to be if it's like him taking care of 3 kids that aren't his.
I would say there's a little bit of comedy, a little bit of drama, a little bit of it goes a little Die Hard at the end of it, I think, in kind of a shootout that's kind of humorous. Enjoyable, though. Not bad. And then the last one I watched, which I think is funny, I'll tell the story. I think it's funny because I remember as a kid, because Michael Keaton's not only my favorite actor, he's my father's favorite actor as well. As a kid, I would remember anytime one of his movies would come out, my parents would go. Like, that'd be their date night. They'd
I'm going to guess I know what movie this is, but I want you to say it first.
I don't think you're going to guess it.
No?
It's from 94.
It might be.
It's a comedy.
Oh, it's not a comedy. Okay.
Called The Paper.
I know that movie. I've heard of that movie.
Okay. Surprisingly really funny. Really good. It's for people today that don't, for somebody that's younger today that doesn't realize, like, how big something like getting the paper was back then, it might be a little lost on you if you're younger. But the whole point of that movie is, like, just getting a story to elevate this paper. It's very funny. It has Robert Duvall in it, Glenn Close. It is a Ron. I will also point out two out of these 3 movies are directed by Ron Howard.
Oh, okay.
Gun Ho and The Paper. So he worked with Ron Howard a lot, which I think is funny. But very, very funny movie. Highly recommended. His wife is played by Marissa Tomei.
Oh, okay.
So
I love her.
Yes. Very young. Like, watching. Yeah, it's like watching. I'm like, gosh, it's hard to believe that woman is the age that she is today. So fantastic movie. I have some more that I'm going to go through that I haven't seen, but that one I vividly remember as a kid, my parents getting a sitter, like, we're going to go see The Paper tonight. And I was like, oh, Michael Keaton. Like, I knew who that actor was.
I'm going to throw out
what was the movie you were thinking of?
Because I know you've seen it. And I went, and the only reason I bring it up is because it was weird, because we went to this movie for a friend's birthday party, and this is like probably like 97. You know better than I do. Desperate Measures.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
I went to that as
twice.
A birthday party in middle school.
That movie is very hard.
Yeah. it's crazy.
He's a fucking bad dude in that movie.
That movie's crazy. I remember
that movie is crazy.
I will say
Andy
that's also
Garcia?
the only time I've seen that movie too.
Okay, so, Andy Garcia.
Yeah,
he's a convict that's trying to escape, I believe, or was serial killer or something.
He needs him to save his son or something.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That was a birthday party movie.
Middle school.
Yeah, super weird. And the crazy part is that was my friend whose mom was kind of strict on content. Like I told you this story before. She took his Limp Bizkit CD and scratched it on the ground so he couldn't listen to it that he got for his birthday. It might have been the same year. But yeah, we went and saw the movie.
And we'll talk about when we get to Beetlejuice here. Like my parents definitely would be strict on some things, but then I remember as a kid seeing the movie Cobra with Stallone way too young.
My parents,
my dad going, "Oh, this won't be that bad." And like that movie's about a cannibal cult.
My parents were never strict on anything.
That Stallone's taken down. I shouldn't have seen that.
My dad,
I saw that.
My dad loves horror movies, so he would watch them constantly just in the living room. So I'd have to like walk past it to get to my room. He's like, "Yeah, you stay and watch it." It's like, no, I don't want to watch this stuff. Like,
see, I was the opposite. Where like my parents weren't into that kind of stuff, but I was the person seeking it out. So
my dad was very into it, and it took me a long time to, you know how I am with them now. It's like I can watch some, but not all. And it took me a very long time to even warm up to that. And
there's definitely been times where like I've seen one and been like, okay, you can probably handle this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
sometimes I need a lot of times I need people to vet them for me to let me know if I can handle it, because
if it's going to be all right or not.
Yeah, because like the massive gore stuff is where I just get checked out.
I have my limits too. Yeah. I think we've talked about like Terrifier or something.
That's too much.
That's garbage. No, that's just a garbage movie.
That's too much for me. I remember the Saw movies I checked out at 3.
Yeah, you and I checked out the same part.
The rack thing, I watched it and I'm like, I'm done. I left halfway through that movie because my dad was watching it.
I made it through the movie, but I did not watch anymore.
That's too much for me, man. Because
Hostel was the other one.
That movie lost I felt like Saw 3 is when that franchise lost the plot, where it's like
it did. It's
a weird escape room, you're being punished kind of a thing, to how fucking gross can I make this? And it's just like I'm not into this anymore.
Well, with all that being
let's talk
said,
about how fucking gross you can make a movie. And I watched Borderlands. And
you want to get into Borderlands?
We'll start with Borderlands because I need to get this out. We'll talk about the other one.
Well, I still got to talk about Beetlejuice.
So let's talk about Borderlands now, just to get this out.
Go through.
I think a lot of people know the story of Borderlands. Like, it's a massive failure. It was on digital in 2 weeks, and Kyle and I had this agreement where like, and Matt's in on it too, where sometimes one of us has to take a bullet and just watch a bad movie and report it.
Borderlands.
I told him I'll take the Borderlands bullet just because like I played most of the games. I like most of the games. This will be a spoiler review too, but it's not really, because if you've played the games, you'll get it. But it is a movie, I guess, is the best thing I could say about it. I think you asked me, or a friend of mine asked me what the best thing about it was, and I said it's a crisp hour 45. It's over. Okay. It's short compared to most things, and it's over when it needs to be over. It's a fucking train wreck. It's such a mess. Okay. If you like the games, it's not for you, because it takes like the first 2 games and just kind of mashes the story together.
Are there even any guns from the game in it?
They talk about some of the manufacturers, but there's never an instance, and this is something I was going to say, there's never an instance where, like, you know, some of the guns in the game, when to reload it, you throw it and it blows up and you get it.
Yeah, like the Tidori or whatever.
Yeah, Tidori, that never happens. That's not a thing. If it did, I must have blinked and missed it, because I was just fucking zoned out on this movie.
It's a cool part of that game.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. The guns and to some extent the violence are a cool part of that game, right? This movie's PG-13, man. There's no violence. There's like, there are guns, and like at one point someone gets evaporated. But like, you see Lilith line up for a sniper shot, targets a dude's head. In the game, what would you see? Their head would explode. In this, don't even get to see that. He just falls over. There's no blood of any kind. There's no like cutting off limb, nothing. It's such a curious idea for this movie because it's written and directed by Eli Roth. I don't necessarily even like him. Some of the stuff is okay. But my thought is if you get him to direct the movie based on a mature rated title, you would make an R-rated movie. No, you didn't.
It's weird.
Like I was saying about the story, it takes the first two games and kind of mash them together. But
there's no Handsome Jack?
There's no Handsome Jack. Huge miss. He should have been the villain of the movie. The villain of the movie is Atlas, who is the guy from the first one. But he's such like a non-factor even in the first movie. It's all and it is like looking for the vault, which is fine. But also this movie assumes that, you know, you would think it's for people who like the games, right? This movie assumes that you don't know anything about the games.
Oh,
because they hide the fact that Lilith is a siren. They hide it. Whereas in the game, from the jump, you know she's a siren.
So is that like a big reveal at some point?
The reveal. Because they keep talking about how to open the vault. They're going to need the child of the vault. And it turns out that Tiny Tina, maybe this is true in the games, I don't think so, was bred from DNA found on an old Guardian weapon by Atlas to open this vault.
No, they never talked about that in the game.
So the movie tries to give you the spin of she's the child. We got to get her to the vault. But then they slowly do the reveal that it's actually Lilith that's the child.
Okay.
It's so dumb. It's so
Who's
dumb.
Jamie Lee Curtis's character?
Tannis, which I didn't think that was a horrific miscast because Tannis in the game is just fucking weird and whatever. Kate Blanchett, you can say what you want about her as an actress. She's a good actress.
She's fine as an actress.
You would argue she's a great actress. Why is a 55-year-old woman, again, this isn't about her, playing Lilith?
It's weird.
Lilith in the games appears to be early 30s, I would guess. And it's not even necessarily that, but the other thought would be, you're hoping to make more of these. You're hoping to make this a franchise. And a turnaround for a movie is 2 years, 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather have all of the main cast be younger so that you could build this into something? Kevin Hart as Roland, forgettable. Like I like Kevin Hart. I just assume that he plays himself in every movie he's in.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Forgettable and doesn't really add anything to the story. They don't there's no Brick. It's just they use Krieg from the second game.
That's weird.
There's no Mordecai. Like, I don't understand. The plot is written. You have the thing. You could have just followed Borderlands 1. It's right there. The work has been done.
Tell me about Jack Black.
Claptrap is just as fucking annoying as you can imagine.
As the game.
It's so he just never shuts the fuck up. He's always talking about something. Hey, you left me behind. He's so fucking annoying. But don't worry, he's a plot device. Roll it back. Lilith's planet she used to live on Pandora and was there when it got destroyed by Atlas because they were looking for the vault. Her mom fucking programmed Claptrap to find her if she ever returned to Pandora. So it's not even like he's his own character. He is a fucking plot device in this movie.
That's bad.
That's
unbelievable.
Crazy.
You don't even. The Claptrap is the one thing from Borderlands where like he's a stupid, annoying robot, and like you just kind of accept that. They don't even do that right in a stupid, annoying movie.
That's bad.
Everything about the movie is bad and forgettable, and it's just I see why it failed. Thinking on it, I don't know how it could have been a success unless it was R-rated. I told you the only thing that could save this is that somewhere Eli Roth has a director's cut.
There's gotta be,
or
right?
like Snyder cut level reworking of this movie. Where
I could see it.
He adds it back in. Here's all the blood. Here's all the stuff. I reworked the plot points. I took out the stupid Claptrap is a robot sent by her dead mom.
I mean, if you
all of this stuff.
I don't think you've ever watched the Snyder Cut, but like it is a massive.
I did. Okay, it's a completely different movie.
It's a massive reworking of that movie.
The end of that movie is so crazy different.
Yes.
Yeah. To the point where they should have just done that, and they should have made it 2 movies.
Yeah, it's too long.
Yeah, it's 4 hours. It's far too long.
It's too long.
I just think that like maybe there's if I would tell you if they do put out a director's cut of some kind, I'll watch it just to see what it could have been. But if they don't, the movie's fucking dead. The franchise is dead, and it was put out at a wrong time. It's nothing about it works at all.
Yeah,
gotcha.
while you're on ranting, I think we've all. I'm going to bring it up now just because I think we've all seen it.
Okay.
The Minecraft movie trailer.
Whoa.
Bad.
Whoa.
I don't think collectively, I don't think there's a single person I know that was like, oh, I can see that like being okay. No.
Whoa.
It looks terrible.
I was fully prepared to be like, okay, Minecraft movie. That's a movie I'm taking my kids to. I don't really have a choice. It'll be tolerable and we'll move on. Nope. No, I have.
Have your kids even seen the trailer?
No, because I don't want them to.
Okay. I mean, at some point, it's going to be advertised.
It's inevitable.
They're going to know that there's a Minecraft.
But I'm going to tell them we're not going to see that unless
like,
that comes out and somehow it's a different movie than what it looks like. We're not going to see it.
I watched a video earlier today where they were talking about the history of that movie because originally the guy from It's Always Sunny was attached. And I had forgotten at one point Steve Carell was attached to play Minecraft Steve. And thinking about that on paper, that sounds better than Jack Black, doesn't it?
Why Jack Black and why is it?
Because Steve. I think the thing for Jack Black, and this is kind of unfortunate now, is I think he is starting to get into this typecast of like, okay, he's the video game movie guy where it's been successful. You know, and so I think that's why he was Bowser, and they threw him into Borderlands. Obviously, that was a misfire of a movie, and then you see this thing, and it's like, boy, I don't know. Nothing about this looks good. What is Jason like? What's up with Jason Momoa in this movie?
The problem I have with it is the problem is not the Minecraft world mixed with real world stuff. I think that's a fine way to do this movie. This doesn't even seem like real world stuff. It's like a cartoon version of it. And the Minecraft stuff looks a little too real, right?
Yeah, I go back to the picture I keep sending you of the sheep.
Stop sending me
where
that.
It's like, what is it? Like, what the hell is this sheep thing?
I don't know. I think this movie would have worked better if it looked more like people in a video game, right?
Yeah.
But not whatever this is.
Like, I don't understand why you couldn't have taken this idea and done like a Lego movie type thing with it.
Yeah.
That would have been the smarter move.
Not this like live. You could still have Jack Black in there as Minecraft Steve, just in animated form.
Right. There's
nobody would have complained about that.
Route. There's I don't even know what the other routes are.
But this thing just
I want to say Jumanji, but that doesn't work like that.
I saw some people putting out there like the picture comparisons of some of the Minecraft characters in like Sonic. I'm like, I don't even think you could pull a Sonic to
no, because the only thing wrong with Sonic was his fucking face, and that was
fixed
an easy
that.
Fix.
And then obviously that's been a massive successful franchise. Yeah. That new trailer was good for that.
Sonic 3 looks great.
Boy, Minecraft. It looks bad. Like hot off the cusp reaction. It doesn't look good. And then I don't know if either of you saw this Wolfman trailer, so I can run it down. You should, first of all, you should go watch it when we're done recording. It is a remake of the Wolfman from the same guy that remade Invisible Man a couple years ago. I don't know if you saw that remake. Fantastic remake.
Is that the one with what's her name?
Handmaid's Tale girl. Yeah. Very good movie, by the way. That one you could handle. It's not a good movie.
I know all about it.
This might have a little more gore in it. I don't know, but this looks really, really cool. It's a Blumhouse thing as well. It comes out in January, which like at first I was like, and then I remembered remember what happened 2 years ago? We got Megan in January. That was a huge success and a pretty good movie. So this looks pretty cool. I highly recommend at least looking at the trailer. I probably would have seen the trailer for this at Beetlejuice if I went to a normal showing. Mm-hmm. But I will run down Beetlejuice. So Beetlejuice, obviously.
Try to spoiler free it because I will watch it.
I'm going to spoiler free it as best as I can. Okay. And I will get in. I will say it's hard to talk about this movie without spoiling it, but I will do the best that I can. The first thing I'll say, this is something I learned recently, and I think it's funny. So we talked about before, like my favorite actor of all time is Michael Keaton. My dad's favorite actor of all time, Michael Keaton. When I was a kid, this was a movie I was not allowed to see as a young kid. And being grown up in a religious house. But I learned recently, and sometimes in life, like you learn things later on that blow your mind. Like you always thought one thing, and then you learn like, oh, that totally isn't true. Like I've thought this one thing for 30 years, and that's not what it was. I learned that about the original Beetlejuice. So for 30 some years, I thought my parents had gone to see this movie in the theater, like every other Michael Keaton movie, and they just didn't like it. I learned in the last week that my parents have never seen Beetlejuice.
What?
And they saw the trailer and decided that wasn't for them at the time.
Whoa.
Well, okay.
Insane, right? Like, it just, like, shit. That was the day I learned that. I was like, shattered my world. I'm like, what? Like, you never, like, no. For me, as a kid, like, I grew up on the cartoon. I think a lot of us did. Like, the cartoon was very successful, very good. And then remember seeing the cartoon and by nature being like, going to the video store and going, hey, there's this movie. And my mom be like, no, you don't need to see the movie. And then at some point I went over to a friend's house in the neighborhood and they were like, let's watch Beetlejuice movie. And I saw it as a kid. And then I remember telling my mom, then remember her not being very happy about that.
I remember watching it just because it's definitely something my dad would have watched.
Okay. And obviously after that point, loved the movie, seen it many, many times. It does fall into the category of a legacy sequel. So you think like, I don't know, after 36 years, is it going to be good? 36 years. He's 73.
That is so weird for me to think about.
He does not look or act 73 at all. It's kind of crazy.
Maybe towards the end of that Flash movie, you get a little bit of it.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Not really here, though. His voice is a little more gravelly than the original Beetlejuice, but I loved pretty much every minute of it. I will say, so I will preface it by saying there is one fault in this movie. And the problem is, and it's a thing that you will notice while you're watching the movie, but as it progresses, it works. And that is, it is very noticeable that they have taken like 4 different stories over the years and mashed them all into one script. So at some point, it becomes a kind of movie where you're an hour in, here's another plot line that's going to happen.
I hate when movies.
But they're all so good and interesting. And somehow they all wrap up at the end, and in mostly a decent way. There's one that I don't think does. I don't want to say which one that is because it will spoil it.
Okay.
There is another very good. The other thing I'll say, there's a very good cameo from another predominant actor that has been in other Tim Burton movies. I will not spoil who it is.
Is it who it is because of what you just said? Oh, you know what? No, I'm not going to bother to guess because it could be a couple people now that I think about it. So
it's a couple people. It's somebody that I was surprised. Like immediately when I saw, like when you first see the back shot of them, you're like, oh, that like from a very far distance. I was like, oh, this is going to be the introduction of Beetlejuice in this movie. And then it got closer. I'm like, this isn't Beetlejuice. And then I was like, oh, I know who that is. Boy, they're not even credited in this fucking movie.
That's cool.
And it's a very good cameo. Okay. So I will say that. And that's early in the, it's like in the first 15 minutes. But it's weird because each one of these has a great like story that for the most part they wrap up really good. Like I said, one doesn't really have a decent payoff. It does have the unfortunate, like, so Jenna Ortega is Lydia's daughter.
Right.
They do the kind of tired plot line of like, oh, this is the angsty teen daughter that I have. She's a complete opposite of Lydia. She doesn't believe in ghosts. She doesn't have any of that kind of stuff. And then obviously during the movie starts to realize, no, this stuff actually is really happening. But she has a very interesting, she probably has, I would argue, the most interesting storyline in that movie.
Okay.
It gets really, I will say this, there is a good twist within a twist in this movie.
Okay.
You can probably predict the first twist. I don't think you'll predict the second one. And that all has to do with her. But I had a blast with the rest of it. Michael Keaton, he slips right back into that role without any problem. He's very, very funny. I will also say, I won't say what it is, but they actually do give you the origin of Beetlejuice, where it came from. Nice. And it's done in a very funny way, and it doesn't ruin anything about it. I saw some people that are like, I don't like, it doesn't do anything. I saw somebody bring up that like, oh, maybe some people might be offended because of the like adding to the lore of Beetlejuice. So I'm like, this is Beetlejuice.
No,
There's
think
one movie and one cartoon.
I also think
Star
like
Wars.
You need to, if you're going to answer it now, because it's not like this is going to keep going.
Well, okay, so you've seen the trailer for the movie, right?
I've seen a bunch of them.
I don't think it's a spoiler to know that Monica Bellucci's in this movie.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay. Do you know what her character
No,
is?
don't say anything
Okay,
more.
then I won't.
I'm gonna watch it as soon as I can.
I don't know if it was obvious or not in the trailer. Okay, I won't say her character is. I will say she is a part of this movie, but she's not as big of a part as you would think. Also, Willem Dafoe, not as big of a role in this movie as you would think, but his brief part in this movie is very fantastic. He's a cop. He's very funny in his role. You will enjoy, like, if you enjoy Willem Dafoe, he's very good.
I enjoy him in everything.
It's a movie where you can just tell every single person in it had a blast making this movie. All of the special effects, and this is another argument I'm going to make here. Like, all the special effects, if they can be practical, are practical and look phenomenal in this movie.
Maybe it's my generation and our generation, but I prefer practical over CG.
CG is used a little bit. There is one sequence in the movie that is very jarring. It's like 30 seconds to a minute that is animated.
Oh.
And there's a reason why, I won't spoil. There's a reason why, and you'll know why when you watch the movie, why they chose to do this. Because it involves something that they could not do another way. But it's really weird because the animation, like, it is kind of that Tim Burton style animation, but it's also not at the same time, and it looks weird. But it is such a brief thing that it doesn't take the movie down in any way. So, but it continues the trend of being a good satire of the afterlife without really having like a heaven or a hell. Just kind of like, hey, you get down here and it still kind of sucks, kind of a thing. Like, that was kind of the premise. I think the best way I described it to my girlfriend when we got out of it is like, the thing that's really nice about this sequel, I compare it to, like, remember, if you look back at the original Ghostbusters, how Ghostbusters has that very dry sense of humor that's not in the second one. This movie retains that same style of humor from the original.
Good, because like
it does not sacrifice
the weird one-off like Beetlejuice one-liners in the first movie are like some of my favorite things in the world.
There is, I won't spoil this as well. There is a sequence done twice in this movie that I am honestly surprised in 2024 that it made the green lights and checks and pass that they put it in here, and they do it not once but 2 times. Where I was like, I will say, I thought it was funny. The audience that I saw the movie with, which was sold out, I mean, it was a special screening, but they all laughed and roared. But there is one scene in the movie where people clapped. I will tell you, when you watch the movie, you will know exactly what scene that is.
Okay.
It's a very good, and it involves, I would say, Beetlejuice's best one-liner in the movie.
Nice.
So people laughed and cheered and clapped. So first movie while I've seen people clap at the end too. So but again, it was a special screening, so I kind of expect that. You have diehards of diehards going. So I gave it an 8 out of 10, but I do, like, I'm trying to think back on all the movies I've seen in the theater this year. It might be my favorite movie now that I've seen, at least in the theater this year. I had a lot of fun with it. I want to see it again. I really want to see it. My girlfriend does too, and I was like, So I'm curious to see how it does. I think it's going to do very well. And I'm curious to see how quickly it comes to digital. But I will say, like, it's easily Tim Burton's best movie since Sweeney Todd.
Whoa.
But he hasn't had I don't think he's had a good movie since Sweeney Todd. This is the same man who brought us the bad Dark Shadows movie.
Well, that's for you.
But it's still a very bad movie. But now you and I can tag team this next one here, because you have another movie you watched, and I watched it as well. And that is the latest M. Night Shyamalan trap.
Garbage man. I don't know why you do it to yourself.
I was interested in this movie because I think the concept of the movie is very good. And we'll try to keep... Matt, are you going to watch this?
Oh, yeah. You can spoil it. Okay. I really don't care.
There's not really that much to spoil, to be completely honest.
There's not.
The trailer... Because the premise from the trailer, where he's this serial killer that they're trying to trap at this concert...
Right.
He's the whole, like, driving the entire movie. It's more so just how it plays out. I like the first 60% of the movie. Basically, every part of it from the beginning through when they leave, they eventually leave the concert at one point. Through that part is very good because it's tense and it's like, I told you, like, it's like, how is he going to get out of it? You're actually rooting for this guy, even though he's a fucking serial killer. And he's like the worst serial killer that's ever existed. You're actually like, man, damn, like, how is he going to get out of here? It's cool to see him get out of here.
Right.
And then there's a part at the end of the concert part where he tips his hand to the spoilers abound from this point on. If you care about Trap, stop listening, although you don't really have to. He tips his hand to the singer of the concert, because they end up getting backstage at one point and basically blackmails her into letting him and his daughter leave. And then you think like, oh man, maybe they're going to wrap it up soon. Nah, dude, there's like another 30 minutes, maybe more.
Damn.
It just kind of keeps going, and it turns into this strange, like, now the concert singer girl is the hero of the movie, and she is somehow going to like single-handedly take down this serial killer at his own house. It's just it starts to lose, not that it's entirely believable before, but it starts to lose believability at that point for me.
The problem, so like I think you said 6.5. I gave it a 7. I was a little more generous with it. I enjoyed it. Like a lot of it has it hinges on Josh Hartnett in a really good performance of being unhinged.
Yeah, and it's good because like I think if you watch the movie and you're just watching his performance, you might mistake it for not a great performance, but then you have to realize who he's playing. He's playing a sociopath, like pretending to be normal amongst all of this like insanity that's going on around him, specifically based on him. So like he's having to play two sides of his. The problem that I have with it is once they leave the concert, it starts to become way more implausible than when they're at the venue. Mm-hmm. So they're like, I like maybe I missed it. And I'm gonna ask you, Dan, but like, how the fuck did he get out of that limousine? That's impossible because he was in full tactical gear and they're looking at the car.
There's no way he could have got out of this limousine. The only possible
way would be to remove the vest and the helmet, put on the hoodie from the seat over, and exit through that door into the crowd. It's possible in a way where everyone was focused on the back of the limousine.
Yeah.
Because she was in it.
It seems so implausible.
But it just doesn't, like, nobody would have said anything. They shot the car.
Yeah.
She was already out of the car.
It legitimately seemed like he was going to be trapped there and he got out.
But that's the thing is, like, it just keeps kind of going one extra step to, like, he should be caught. And he's not. He should be caught. He's not.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, I'll say, Matt, is, like, up until the point at the end when they get ready to leave the concert, he pulls, like, the singer lady aside. And he tips his hand and says, like, hey, you know, this whole thing that's been set up, I am that person.
Right. And if you don't let me go, I'll kill someone.
He shows the little video. Yeah, he shows the little video. It's like, you are going to help me and my daughter get out of here without any problem, or I'm pressing this button and this person's going to die.
But then she decides to threaten a serial killer. Like, it stops making sense
in a weird way.
All of a sudden, she's taking it on herself and there's no backstory for this. Maybe if they'd written in something where it's like he killed her brother or he killed her manager or something. There's another way to get her to have this vendetta against him other than he's just a really bad guy.
And I don't really. It doesn't really have like a Shyamalan twist at the end.
No, other than like he picks his handcuffs. Like, I think there's a better ending where they pull up to the police station or whatever, and they open the door, and he's gone. That's a better ending.
I guess the twist at the end of the movie, obviously getting very heavily spoilers, that his wife actually did know, because they do reveal
she figured it out.
She figured it out.
Okay. And she was who helped them set up the trap for him at the concert. Because they don't explain that until that moment. So you're like an hour and a half into this movie. It's like, wait a minute, how did they get him there? And it turns out she figured it out and planted it. And then
followed him to one of his like safe houses.
Right. And then it also turns out that they had planned, they knew he was going to escape, so they had planned for that he would come back to the house. And they would be there to catch him.
Isn't his day job he's a firefighter?
He's a firefighter, which I guess kind of makes sense in the sense where like he would know what buildings.
Abandoned buildings.
He would know abandoned buildings. He would have the physical strength, all this other kind of stuff. Here's another key thing about this movie that doesn't help it. It's PG-13. No one dies.
No one dies, but also like there's no blood, I think, in that movie at all, and there's nothing that's like
the worst thing that happens is this thing in the trailer where he puts that oil in the fryer and it blows up in that chick's face.
Yeah, I forgot they showed that briefly, but like there's not I don't know. It could have gone a little harder.
Let me talk to you. Let me explain to you a couple things I think would have made the movie better, or like twists that would have worked better. Number one, we're at the concert for almost the entire movie. Maybe we get out at the end and something happens, but fine. Here's some other twists I thought, because the big problem with the movie is it gives away the twist in the trailer and the name of the movie. But what if this is just me spitballing here? What if it turns out that wasn't him? What if it turns out they're looking for somebody else and he's panicking because he thinks it's for him? So there's a way to play that off, and that's a smarter idea, because then the twist is there's a guy that's even fucking worse here, and they were there for him. So that's something I thought of. Number two, the wife is in on it. How about that?
That would have been a good twist.
The wife was a part of it the whole time. Yeah, and the whole family is a cover story for this, and they somehow take down the FBI lady at the end, right? Number three, the FBI lady is his mom, and she doesn't know that it's him or something, because they make this big fucking dumb thing about he keeps seeing his ghost mom everywhere because his mom treated him like shit, and that's why he's a serial killer. Cut that out and do something else, and maybe make the FBI lady his mom. Or, and then the other thing I thought is, like, just to make the movie better, make it R and make him kill people at this fucking concert and get away with it. Yeah. Like, they have this whole interaction with, like, he's taking his daughter to this concert because her friends are assholes. And it turns out they're there too. And he keeps running into the mom over and over again. And the mom's fucking insufferable. Kill the mom. Not like the security, like the sales guy doesn't need to be killed, but he could have been turned into a dark comedy at that point. Yes, like it would have been. There's a different form of how this movie works. Yeah, like it's just like he's a serial killer that we get to see none of that. And as much as I rooted for him, like during the concert to get out, after that point, I'm not rooting for him anymore because it just doesn't make any sense anymore. It
is also one of those movies where there are certain things that have to happen to make the plot work. Yes. Like the one that was most noticeable that bothered me was when he's going back to get the T-shirt from that guy, and that guy's just like, "Oh, you can just come down here with me." That would never fucking happen.
He's my best. I want to be his.
That would never fucking happen in a million years. Come down here and get this box.
There's a different way to have the conversation where he learns the information he needs, and it doesn't have to be in some dark hallway where they have to get a box.
Gets that card. Yeah, exactly.
So like, it's just it is one of those movies where like everything kind of has to go right for it to happen. Like obviously the thing that has to go right the most is she gets picked to go on stage, but he made that work. So I was okay with it because he manipulated that guy into picking him. So that's different.
Okay.
Even in that same scene, there's a brief moment where he has the box cutter, and you think he's going to do something.
I knew he wouldn't, though, because
you could have done something with that.
You could, and if it's the other version of the movie, he does. But I knew he wouldn't do it because then it draws attention to this guy is actually here and who went back there and who saw him with him. Like there's other things to do, but yeah, I did think it was a little implausible that his daughter getting up on the stage would ruin it. But he used his like. Him being a manipulator to make that happen, so it worked.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not his worst movie by far. I still really like the idea of it. I just think there's other ways.
There's a world in which it could have been a better movie.
Can you imagine the twist if it turns out they were there for someone else? And the whole thing is like in his head that it's about him and he has to get out. And then you also add that to he has to kill people at this thing to progress. You know, so like I think there's a better movie there. I love Josh Hartnett, and I thought he was good. The daughter was really good.
She's fine.
M. Night Shyamalan's daughter is phenomenal in this movie because she wrote all this music and performed a real fucking concert for people. Yeah. Did you read anything about that?
I read a little bit about it, but like there's at least like 4 or 5 original songs that she sings in this movie.
It all.
Oh wow.
Pretty decent.
They hired someone to make a concert out of her music for this movie, and the songs are written about what's happening in the movie. If you pay attention to it, like it's actually like following the movie.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
So like the level of detail there, the production of the movie is very good. I just wish it was more plausible and it had
smarter.
A twist at the end. It's smarter. Because like, wouldn't you agree? Like. You see him pick his cuffs, but he's still in the fucking
And I think in a world where like not like he just did Knock at the Cabin, which I liked a lot more, and that was rated R. You could have done an R-rated version of this, and it would have been more interesting with him killing people.
Yeah, I think so too.
So
just like, and it doesn't have to be everybody. It has to be the mom because she's in his way. A restaurant. Because that's what I thought was going to happen because she just keeps popping up.
She was very insufferable.
Terrible. And her little kids are terrible too. But like, get rid of the mom. Get rid of the concession worker so he can get backstage. Get rid of a guy. Get rid of one of the cops on the roof when he goes to the roof and then realize he can't get off the roof. It's just.
But you would think a movie about a serial killer would have some type of killing in it.
Just something. It needed something more, and it just didn't happen. So again, it's a good movie. I like it. But in a different universe, the perfect version of that movie exists.
It could have been much better. What about you, Matt? You have some stuff.
I've had 4 weeks of TV, but I haven't watched a lot. I did watch Jackpot on Amazon Prime.
That's the Cena one, right?
Yeah, John Cena and Aquafina. It's actually not bad. It had really good humorous moments. I think John Cena and Aquafina actually played really well off of each other.
Okay.
They did a very good job. The basis of it is, so she apparently she was a kid actor at one point, and she goes back to California to try her hand at acting again. Well, California has this weird thing now where they have a lottery system. However, the way to win the lottery system is everybody has like this little ID card or something like that. It's like a fingerprint scanner. So once you scan your finger, you're automatically drafted into this lottery. Well, what the lottery does is they pick a winner, and if the winner survives, I think it's like a 24-hour time limit, they win the money. Okay. However, if someone ends up killing the lottery winner, they win the pot. So it's essentially kind of like a purge in California.
Yeah. Okay.
And the way that she does it is she gets Aquafina gets an Airbnb. The host is like a really bad host, and she ends up like getting clothes from her. And in the outfit she's wearing, it's one of these ID cards, and she grabs it by accident, logs in, and that's how she gets part of the lottery. Well, John Cena's character is trying his hardest to make sure she lives throughout the time. He takes like a small percentage. That's his thing, is he's kind of like a hitman, but he takes a small percentage of her winnings. That way he can help the next lottery winner live, and just kind of goes on and on. The action sequences are really solid in this film, and just the comedy is really good. I have to say, if you guys have Amazon Prime, definitely give it a shot.
Yeah.
I think they worked really well together. They had a lot of riffs back and forth. All in all, man, I think I just really enjoyed John Cena as an actor in his comedic roles. Like, dude is just out here doing a bunch of side quests and winning, honestly. A very solid movie. If I gave it anything, I'd give it a 7.5. Very good. Then I watched The Union, which is on Netflix. It's the new Mark Wahlberg, Halle Berry movie.
Okay, yeah.
If I had to kind of like sum it up, it kind of reminds me of Central Intelligence with Rock and Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Okay. However, just not as humorous. So like Halle Berry is like an FBI agent, but she's with a different department of the FBI. And she tracks down Mark Wahlberg, who is like her high school sweetheart. And she recruits him in to help her save the world, essentially. You know, there's like action, comedy, a little bit of romance between the two of them. It's not bad. It's really not. It's a movie goes by pretty fast. I think all in all, their chemistry on screen kind of just helps it go forward.
Okay.
And Halle Berry looks phenomenal in this.
Well,
She looks great. Mark Wahlberg does a really good job playing the role that he's in for this one. It is a little... What's the word I'm looking for? Like, you know what's going to happen. Like, you kind of meet
Predictable.
characters. Thank you. Predictable. So it's kind of predictable as you know what's going to happen because, you know, like, this happens here and it kind of sets up and you're like, that guy's definitely got to be the bad guy just based off of everything I've ever seen before in my life. So it's not bad. If I gave it anything, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. It's a good watch if you want to put something on in the background and just kind of like sit through it. And the next one I watched is a movie called Tim on Hulu. This one is about a couple. They move out to the countryside. The wife is like really big into robotics. And so she gets a new job in this robotics field where essentially they're creating servant robots for people to buy.
Is it kind of like Megan?
Kinda.
Okay, except it's
guy,
not a kid's doll.
Not a kid's doll. And the robot falls in love with this girl. And
okay.
He like utilizes AI and all kinds of stuff. It's really kind of creepy at some point.
Okay.
Because like the robot, like the android, he looks like an android, but then he doesn't look like an android. So it's kind of sketchy. And the robot ends up, like I said, he's in love with this girl and he ends up killing her husband.
Whoa.
Then like the reason that they end up moving to the countryside in general is because her husband cheated on her. So she's got like trust issues with her husband. But then what's happening is the robot's learning of this because he has like gained access into all of their phone usage and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
So he's like, he knows what he's doing and he's kind of like throwing little things here and little weird. Monkey wrenches into their relationship so that eventually she just like leaves and or she eventually kicks him out and he leaves. All in all, it's a pretty solid movie for Hulu. It's
on Hulu.
Yeah, it's a good watch. I gave it a 7. It's a good one. I seen snippets of it and that's what really got me into it. All in all, it's a small cast. There's like really essentially only a core of 5 people in it, but I think they really play really well with each other. Then I saw Paramount Plus put all the Quiet Places on there.
Yeah.
And I hadn't finished Quiet Place Day 1, so I decided to jump on that. And it's definitely not like the other 2.
I hear it has a badass cat in it.
The cat's dope as hell, man.
Okay.
It's like a service cat.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
The cat's like going through everything. Like at one point, they're getting shot through like a sewer drain to try and escape one of this monsters, and the cat's like literally going through it with them.
Okay.
The cat never doesn't really meow throughout the entire movie, which is wild because my cats meow when I walk into the kitchen, and I just don't understand how this cat is meowing for everything. The girl and the guy who play the main characters and the main roles, I think they work really well with each other. It's just, if you watched Quiet Place 1 and 2...
So I've only seen the first one.
This one is just nothing like those 2.
Okay.
And I think that's what, like when I went in, I was thinking it was going to be kind of like that, but It's really not. So it's like it feels like a different movie than the other two. So if you go and watch,
still have like the tension of like being quiet, obviously, to avoid detection from the.
No, and that's what's really different in this one. So like in the first one, you know, the family knew sign language because the girl was deaf, and that's how they communicated with everybody.
Yeah,
which was perfect. I mean, that's how it worked. However, in this one, you know, they know sound is the reason that these monsters attack. However, the girl utilizes like the weather to cover up them talking. So like with the fact that like at one point it's raining really heavy, she's like kind of whispering to this person, to the guy, the other main character of the movie, and she's and so they're utilizing the rain to kind of like talk to each other, which is really cool. Like when you think about it, it's a really cool idea. It's just that you're not expecting there to be so much dialogue in this.
Yeah.
That there really is. However, since they're in the city, they're pretty smart about how they utilize sounds in the city, like car alarms and like glass and stuff like that. So it's actually really cool the way they do things. If you're not watching it like you're watching the other two movies, I think it's a good watch.
Do you need to have seen the second one to see this one? Probably not.
No,
right?
not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, not at all. That's why I was saying like it's completely different in what the first two movies did to this one. So if you go and watch it, it's just nothing like the first two. Just watch it with like new, fresh eyes, and I think you'll enjoy it because I enjoyed it. It was just way different from the first two. So
my girlfriend knows about the cat, and so she wants to watch it.
Oh yeah, the cat.
But we haven't seen the second one, so I kind of want to see the second.
The second one took me a second to watch through, but after I started watching it, it was actually a really good watch. I personally feel like it. It's just. It was. I feel like the first one had more suspense than the second one did, and that's what took me a little bit longer to get through it than the first one. But this one, once I started it, I watched it through without a problem. So I definitely say if you're going in, just go with fresh eyes, and you'll be solid. Like it's not a big problem.
Yeah. That wraps up what you've watched.
That wraps up me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can kick over to emails here. We got a couple more emails. A lot of people emailed in about Concord, but they have different things that kind of branch off of it. So we'll go through those. Brad from Cincinnati, Ohio writes and says, "Howdy guys. I'm sure you are getting a bunch of emails about this Concord situation. My question is, with Sony taking this big of an L, do you think that this delays any potential announcement of a PS5 Pro or even whatever their next showcase is?" I will say, firstly, if there was anything related to Concord, that's been pulled out.
Well, got to cut that and fill it with something else.
Got to cut that. Like I could see that. I could see like a situation where there's a sizzle reel of games that are going to play better on PS5 Pro, and that being a part of that. They're like, we got to cut that out. But I don't think it's really going to affect like an announcement of a PS5.
I don't think it changes anything like around that at all. But I think if anything, it gives them something else to just completely focus on and be like, what happened with Concord? We're focused on the PS5 Pro right now and really getting that out to our customer. Like they can use this as a way to just stop talking about it and just be done.
My bigger thing with an announcement of a PS5 Pro is you need to show reasons for me to care about buying a PS5 Pro. Like show games, like new games, you know?
Yeah, I need to see a difference. Like we were talking about it last time, I think, where it's like Final Fantasy 16 would be a good one. It's a game that already looks good and already runs well. But can you make it look better and run better? That's what I want. That'll prove it to me that it's worth an investment, especially if it's not going to have a disk drive. I need a real reason to have an investment.
Exactly. Other email we got in about Concord, Wally from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Hi, 572 crew. I'm sure you'll have a bunch of people writing in about this, but what do you all make of the Concord situation? Did any of you rush out to buy a physical copy for your gaming collection? Do you think it will retain any collector's value? Thanks. I didn't try to buy a copy. I don't know if you did.
I thought about it for a second and then just decided, you know what? I don't even want to spend the $40 on this to put it on my shelf.
I think I told you, like, well, it's like there's going to be zero data on that disc.
Yeah, and I did have a friend. That tried to buy one from Walmart, like basically immediately. I texted him like, "Damn, dude, they're pulling it." He went on Walmart, ordered it immediately, and then somehow the delivery date got delayed, and then it was something else changed, and then today he finally got the email that says, "Sorry, that's out of stock." So he tried, but he couldn't get one. But I just don't. I get that it's like a weird piece of gaming history now, but
it's not going to be worth anything.
No, it's not. I have a copy of APB for the PC. That was a game that was pulled almost immediately. Yeah, no one cares. You know why? Because it's a nothing game for PC especially, but it can't do anything. Certain things yes, certain things no, but I think in a couple years this is probably worth maybe $40.
Agreed. It retains its current.
It'll just be $40 forever. Let's do that.
Yeah, there you go. Randy from Modesto, California. Hi guys, been loving your extended conversations the last few episodes regarding everything going on with Xbox. My question is, at this point, do you think it's even possible for them to get rid of Phil Spencer and put someone else in his place? Really seems like at some point in the last year, those higher than Phil have taken over the department, and he's basically just a figurehead at this point. Who would even be a good replacement for him? Is there any way in which you think another person could come in, take his position, and completely change the brand again? Or at this point, is it all lost thanks to the ABK deal? Thanks, guys. I think you hit the nail on the head. I agree. I think at this point he is just a figurehead.
He is.
I think at some point, I still maintain the conspiracy theory of I think he went to those higher ups a couple years ago with the idea of Game Pass, and they gave him a specific timeline. This needs to be profitable by this point, or we're going to do something different. And during that, obviously, that deal changed and evolved. We got this ABK deal. The minute that came through, numbers were ran, and they said, hey, what if we just started publishing this stuff everywhere and make a shit ton more money, since we're not making it from Game Pass, clearly. And I think that's what changed it. But I think he has become, unfortunately, just kind of a figurehead.
I don't know if they'd ever make him like step down or anything like that. I think that they would leave that to be a decision that's up to him. Like I
think so too.
I don't think he's, things aren't going well now, but I don't think he's been bad for the brand. Like he'd had to do.
I don't think he's been bad for the brand either.
Control that was set out before him.
Yeah, I don't think he's been bad for the brand. I mean, obviously there are definitely the people that now are start coming for his head every time something changes. Indiana Jones is going to be on PS5 now, so but again, I don't think that. I mean, the Xbox still exists today in 2024 largely because at least by and large, a big portion of that is because of him.
Yeah, for sure.
And the changes he made coming in to such a train wreck.
Almost all the goodwill from the 360 was destroyed by the Xbox One launch.
Overnight, in 1 2-hour showcase. Yeah.
And
like, think about that.
He fixed a lot of that stuff, earned his promotion, earned his way up the ladder, and now it just seems like we're pretty stagnant and we're not moving anywhere anymore.
There's also, I don't think there's any way for him to go any higher on the ladder at this point.
He's in charge of all of this. But yeah. So like, who would you replace him with? Like, isn't most of the stuff now? Who?
Jack Trent? No, I'm just
kidding. I mean, that's a get. If you can
what
get
a
him,
wild get that would be, right?
Oh Lord,
what a wild get that would be.
But it's just who would you want? You would have to think it'd be somebody. If you want to make a shakeup, it'd have to be somebody external. And at that point, who is there? Because
think about some of the other cool things that he's done, though. Like the one moment I always go back to and think of is I think it was the last Game Awards pre-pandemic when we had the moment where we had the three of them on stage for the first time, like putting aside all the corporate bullshit. Yeah. You had Reggie, You had Sean Layden, and you had him. I thought that was a really cool moment. That like
those three people actually got along and understood what the business was.
That was this weird time where everything kind of aligned, and we had three heads of these three companies that got along, and were like they obviously talked to each other.
Yeah, it wasn't about fighting. It was about how can we make gaming better. But then Sony decided to go off the rails. Yeah, and how can we segregate ourselves from everybody else and all
and
this?
Now they're all garbage.
And now it's all garbage.
Yeah, now it's all garbage, except for Nintendo. They're still.
I just don't know. I just don't know who else. Like internal candidates. Who's even in charge over there now?
The people that you have under them, I don't see as they would be any better.
What's her name?
You have Sarah Bond.
Sarah Bond. That's it.
And you have Matt Booty, who
he's basically got.
I've been on record many times saying I don't think he's done a great job.
He basically has Phil's old job, and he does, but
he's not reining in these studios. These games are taking too long.
They're all being forced to work on different things. We're moving this around. We're restarting that.
Well, and a lot of that, I think, too, is the narrative got lost when we started buying all these studios. Well, here's 5 more studios. Here's 5 more. Now we own Activision Blizzard King. So I think that didn't help either in terms of reining studios in. But if anything, I think that department needs to be blown up a little more with more than one person in charge of it. One person to be in charge of like 23 development teams or studios is not
a great
enough.
Idea. No.
So, but as far as replacing Phil, I don't see him leaving anytime soon. I think he's fine.
I think it's on him to step down. I think from a business standpoint, I think he does a lot of the right stuff. He was the one who finally pushed for maybe we should try to get some of these Japanese studios to give a damn about us.
He pushed really hard for some of those.
Final Fantasy he goes over there. He has meetings with these people.
He also obviously has had a very long relationship with Bethesda, which is why that deal went through. I mean, he's done a lot of really good things for everybody. It's very easy to become short-sighted on it because of the weirdness of what's going on right now with, these games coming to PlayStation and everything. Yeah. But like, he's done more good than bad. So a lot more.
Yeah, I don't really think there's no problem with that.
So I don't think he's going anywhere anytime. I think you at least get through whatever the next generation is before you even start thinking, however long that is,
right?
Where you start thinking about maybe a shakeup. So, but yeah, that would be what I would say as far as that goes. Kurt from Richfield, Utah. Howdy 572 crew. Love the podcast. I'm just curious with this entire situation of Concord being pulled. What can Sony do to pull out of this hellhole? This entire generation has been a goddamn joke for a lot of us. Both of these systems feel like non-starters, and it's almost 2025 and games are still being ported to last gen. Hell, games that already released as current gen only are being ported backwards. See Jedi Survivor. Yeah, that comes out next week. It's ridiculous to me that it just seems like we are on the brink of another video game crash. What do you all think? I'm going to turn it to you, Dan, because you wrote something in here.
Give us your wisdom.
It's just they just seem to keep making more and more mistakes and like getting farther and farther away from what they used to do really well, which was have franchises, have these teams that are good at making these franchises, put out games. Like, remember in the PS3 era, you would get a game and you'd get a sequel to it. Pretty much like almost right away. Now it's like we're sitting on all these dormant franchises that we for some reason refuse to touch. And we're not talking about like certified bangers or anything like this, but like, why has there been no talk of any Infamous game of any kind since Second Son, which was basically a PS4 launch title?
It was in the launch window,
and that's a good game. Why is the franchise dead? Resistance. Those games weren't the best, but they were long. They lasted long enough to get to a 3, which was a good game. That's a PS3 game. We talked about it earlier. Killzone. The last one was a PS4 launch title. They have these, like, they had that quote where we don't have any IPs. You have tons of IPs. The people who are buying your system the most right now are people our generation and slightly younger who grew up playing all of these games.
I think with some of those, the argument can be made those studios are obviously stuck on new IPs now. You have like Insomniac, they're stuck on Spider-Man.
That's fine. Spider-Man's not the problem. I'm talking like where's Sucker Punch?
Was that Sucker Punch?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking that was
Insomniac's Ratchet.
But
which is probably why Ratchet's not coming back.
Gorilla was Killzone. They're stuck on Horizon.
Yes, but
now.
you can't tell me that
But
Horizon isn't a big enough
studios.
franchise that's made them enough money that they couldn't branch it off
Split a team
and say, hey, why don't you guys figure out something with Resistance using the Horizon engine?
Or I was going to suggest, how about you take part of the team that was split off to make that Horizon VR game,
right?
And they go make a
weren't they making a multiplayer
Killzone
thing
game
too?
Yeah.
Why we have people to at least be like, hey guys, can you make something up for a Resistance, like what that would look like, and give us an idea? You have these franchises. Like, yeah, maybe Sly isn't that big of a deal anymore. I bet you people would buy a new Sly game because look at Astrobot.
For sure. Yeah.
Astrobot's not an adult game. It's a family friendly game.
I was mistaken. Sucker Punch is Ghost of Tsushima.
That's fine. Take a break.
So
from
they're working on Ghost of Tsushima too.
But then take a break from that and make an Infamous game. Or that studio is big enough where it's like, why don't you guys write out what an Infamous game could be?
Yeah. Or you take part of that team, split them off, have them go start working on something else while that team is making Ghost of Tsushima 2, and then you flip them over.
Or maybe we get Firewalk to work on it because they're not doing anything else right now. Or
Sony's got a couple studios they're going to have to rebalance.
But the other thing is like this live service thing. Concord needs to prove to you that it's dead. And if they put out fair games and expect anything about that game to be moderately successful, they're dreaming, because all this is proving is that they don't know what they're doing anymore. They've ruined
that project. Needs to be canceled.
They've ruined Bungie, or helped Bungie ruin themselves, however you want to phrase it. I think it could go either way. But it just seems like they have no clue. Like, let's focus on making VR because it worked so well the first time. Oops,
it's garbage. We discussed.
Nobody cares. It's already dead.
What is it? $200 cheaper?
Yeah, but it's already basically dead.
Which is still too
Let's make the Portal, which is just a controller for our system. People seem to like it. Double down on it then. Make it a fucking big Vita that plays your PS5 games on. You know, or it downloads games. Like, there's things to do.
It's weird to me that we're almost towards the end of this year and we still, like, I couldn't tell you what the next thing is next year. What are their next games? We hear rumors of like Ghost of Tsushima 2,
Wolverine.
Obviously Wolverine is something that should be talked about.
Death Stranding 2.
Death Stranding 2 is a little bit of a more odd one because that's kind of, it's not like, it's more of a second party thing. That's more of Kojima.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a blowout for that. I think 2 weeks at TGS, where I think that's where you get your date for that game.
But we're reaching essentially the halfway point of this generation if we're talking about a PS5 Pro.
They said a year ago.
You would think that this is halfway.
They said a year ago that we were on the later half of this generation.
You can't tell me that that's true. We've only recently started to ditch PS4 versions of stuff.
I know.
That's another big thing they need to do. Guys, in 2025, it's our commitment to make PS5 games. As a Sony, for first and second party stuff, we are no longer producing PS4 copies of anything. And I get why they want to,
where you're gonna have
because they've
PS5.
sold so many fucking PS4s. But if the point is PS5s and PS5 Pros, you're making PS5 stuff move.
You have to give that up at some point.
Right.
And if you're going to have a PS5 Pro, you're not going to start making 3 versions of these games for the same manufacturer.
Dear God, please don't do that.
Well, you know you're going to see it for baseball, though.
Yeah, but at least now
you're still going to see it.
At least now the baseball stuff, it is marketed as a PS5 thing that comes with the PS4 thing, as opposed to the other way around. But
yeah.
But again, here's another thing about Sony, how you can fix it. Use Plus properly. They just added MLB The Show as a free game for Plus. That's the first Sony game they've given out for Plus in how long? I think it's the second one. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Put your damn games on Plus. Put them on the premium, whatever you want to do it. Everything that's older than a year should be on there, no questions. Minimum. And maybe you need to start buckling and being like, hey, you know what? If you have premium, not extra, if you have premium, you can get Astrobot Day 1 or something. Because that's a $120 buy-in to a game that costs $60 that you give the first one away for free. There's numbers there to do this, but they're still so confident that they can do nothing wrong. They don't make mistakes until now when it's starting to blow up in their faces.
Concord was a pretty
mistake.
big.
Destiny stuff is a huge mistake. We had to cancel Last of Us multiplayer because it was so fucking bad. Even though that game could have come out, been bad, and it would have sold like crazy.
Concord should be their gut check for like, we need to take a step back.
But we've got 2 new CEOs. Why don't we just blame all the stuff that's blowing up now on the last guy?
I think I told you
we can go forward, and so in 4 years we're finally held accountable for what we do. I
think I told you the rumor was that Concord was a Herman Hulst thing from day one.
That's
pre being a CEO.
Yeah, but Ryan was the live service guy. And if we're talking this is 8 years old, Jim Ryan had a shitload to do with Concord existing, being a Sony only property, what the gameplay was going to be like, how they were going to monetize it after it came out, the fact that it was for all of that stuff had to get run through it.
Sure. There's a lot.
I just wish these companies would get over themselves. I think that's the biggest problem.
I mean, I agree though. Like it just seems like it's been a wash of a generation at times. Yep. Like we get some good things that we enjoy and everything, but it just hasn't been like we haven't reached that period. Like even if you look at the PS4 from when it launched to like about 2016, 2017, when it really kicked off, you had that period of like, well, it seemed like everything you're getting is just remaster. And then we got to the point where like, okay, here's a new IP, here's Horizon.
Right.
And that kind of kicked off like, okay, here's some new IPs that we're going to try and do. And they really closed out that generation in a good way. We should already be past that point with this generation.
Far past.
And we haven't even done that.
We should invest $250 million in 8 years into a game that blows up in our faces publicly.
And shut down in 2 weeks.
Publicly.
8 years for 2 weeks.
You're telling me that there were no internal discussions had about this game month before it came out where it's like, gee, it really seems negative. What can we do to fix it?
Do you think you would think after that showcase that they would have been sitting down and be like, boy, it doesn't seem like people are into this.
No, maybe we should put the beta out, see how it goes, and then maybe delay the game 3 months and really figure this out. No, had to come out in August. We got to push it out now.
It didn't seem like it was unplayable. I'll say that.
No, that doesn't seem like the problem with the game. It just seems like it wasn't anything people wanted to play.
Yeah. Next email we have comes to us from Cassie from Tomahawk, Wisconsin. Hi, guys. Curious, with it being a month out from Halloween, what all spooky movies are you looking forward to watching? Any classics you find yourself returning to annually? Thanks. I mean, I will tell you, in my house, it's always spooky season. So I feel like I'm always watching. I mean, I also have things that are running on the TV up here, like, you know, pretty much day in and day out. Although I will say, replacing that hard drive in the server recently did a lot of damage to the playlist I had on the server. So I have to rebuild a lot of those.
Yeah, man, you messed me up.
But so that'll be rebuilt at some point. But yeah, like in my house, it's like all year round. Like I watch, like I think this year for Halloween, I want to sit down and watch like back to back all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies instead of just kind of like seeing them in passing in here when like I get up to do something. I look up at TV like, oh yeah, that's on, you know. So I'm thinking I might do that this year. And when I say all of them, I mean all of them up until that remake.
No, do them all. Gotta do them all, dude.
I gotta do the remake. I saw that.
Don't quit out on us.
The other movie I never saw, and I think this came out last year, maybe it's been 2 years, and it was more of a kid-friendly one, and I should watch it. I think I will watch it at some point in October. Do you remember the Spirit Halloween movie that had Christopher Lloyd in it?
No.
Like Spirit Halloween is based on the store.
Yes.
Did you ever watch that?
No, I never did.
I never watched it. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I feel like I should probably watch that.
I'm gonna guess bad.
I'm gonna guess too, but like it's got Christopher Lloyd in it, so like maybe it'll be okay. So I kind of want to watch that. But yeah, like as far as like ones that I watch, I mean, the problem is these things are on 24/7 for me all year round. So I don't have one where I'm like, I need to watch this every year on Halloween. Like I can tell you, like growing up for my parents, they would watch the movie Halloween on Halloween every year. So I have I am ingrained on the movie Halloween, but I don't really have one that I would pick that I need to watch every year because I'm watching that shit year round.
Fair.
So
I always watch Frighteners.
Okay.
Frighteners is probably my favorite horror movie ever. For obvious reasons with Michael J. Fox. I actually just think it's a really good it's a very fun movie that ends up being real fucking creepy after a certain point, and then it kind of leads back into comedy. So it's a great, super dark comedy.
It has a good balance.
Yeah, it's fun to watch, and he's great in it. And everybody, the cop that shows up is just super fucking weird. You have no idea what's going on with that guy. And just overall, I would watch that movie probably every year. That's number one. I don't like to watch scary stuff.
You're not a horror.
I like thriller stuff more than horror. Yeah, it's different.
I would put. I would say that Trap movie is more of a thriller.
Yeah, exactly.
Than a horror
I like
movie.
that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
Matt, you watch horror movies.
Yeah, I do. I'm kind of like you, though. I just watch it as it comes through. I watch the bad ones, the good ones, the horrible ones. I think if anybody is like that, it's my wife. I think for her, Nightmare Before Christmas is one she has to watch. Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus 2 now. And she's, an avid fan of Halloween Town. So she typically watches all of them. And I think that's really typically around Halloween. That's what she typically likes to sit and watch. So I just kind of watch it in the background. But nothing really stands. I'm just not a seasoned dude.
I think I said it at our work the other day because somebody brought up something like, "Is it too early to go to Spirit Halloween?" And my comment back was, "It's Halloween in my house every day of the year." So, there's always some sort of horror movie or TV show on.
Yeah, I just don't think there's anything that really shouts out. I mean, I think that Nightmare Before Christmas would probably be the only thing that I'd watch around Halloween time, just because that's what time it kind of really feels like it. But not necessarily anything that I have to dive in to really watch.
I'll give you another good example of that. In the front of my house on the window, we have a little that we got, I think the first year we moved in, a little Michael Myers, of his face holding the knife. One of those little things you can just plaster on the thing. Yeah. I've left that up since we moved in.
Nice.
I don't take it down. He's just part of our house now. So it's Halloween here every day, so it doesn't bother me. But I don't have any. I mean, do I have favorites and stuff? Absolutely, but I don't have one where I'm like, I need to see this every Halloween because I probably watched it 4 or 5 times throughout the year.
Yeah. So
especially Friday the 13th movies, probably my favorite of those slasher movies series, by far. I watched those probably I have a playlist of all of them that I watch probably once a week.
Maybe I should do that because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big Halloween guy. Not the season, but Michael Myers. I'm not I've never actually watched. I think I watched the Rob Zombie ones, which I know they're not the greatest. I watched the first Rob Zombie one, and I
don't like the first one.
I was this is kind of stupid.
The second one's worse because he flips a car.
Yeah, so maybe I should give those movies a try this season, all the Jasons, the good ones, and then the original Michael Myers ones.
They're all good. No, I'm just kidding.
Jason Goes to Hell, or Jason Goes to Hell.
I will argue has a really cool idea. It doesn't really work very well, but it's a cool idea.
Jason X is Jason.
Jason X is hilarious. Hey man, Freddy vs. Jason is a fantastic movie. It's very fun.
I don't know. I didn't know Kane was Jason in SpaceX. I thought that was pretty cool.
He had a horror movie too. Was it See No Evil or something like that?
Yeah, he had 2 of those. See No Evil 1 and 2.
Okay.
Yeah. They weren't really bad either. It's believable to see Kane as a villain in a horror movie.
Yeah.
The first one was kind of it was weird the way, if I remember right. Maybe I should go back and watch those too. But I know the first one, he was more of the villain. And in the second one, you felt more sympathy for him.
Okay.
And I was this is a weird way of doing it.
They kind of did the Don't Breathe thing where that guy was the villain in the first movie and the second one.
Weird too.
He's the protagonist, and it's like, I remember what that dude was doing in the first movie. I don't know, really cool with this. Like
that guy was bad. Like
he was a bad dude in the first movie. That's why I never watched the second one for that reason. Because I'm like, he's a bad dude. I don't think I can get down with that. Like,
yeah, I was about to say the same thing. I never watched the second one,
but I never watched the second one. Yeah, so I don't know. And I also like the Alien movies. I have on all the time too. So then I like I said, recently sat and rewatched a couple of those. So, but huge fan. Our final email is actually, we haven't had one in a while, a game recommendation, and we can talk about it too. Jason from Norman, Oklahoma. Hey dudes, have any of you had a chance to pick up or check out Visions of Mana? Really sucks that the developer got shut down the day their game got released, and I feel like with everything going on with Concord and Sony, this game is going to be swept under the rug. I picked up a copy, and I have to say I've been having a blast with it. One of the better JRPGs I've played this gen. Highly recommended. So Kyle
and I, when the news got announced that they were shutting that studio down, I immediately texted Kyle and was like, I think I'm going to buy it just because I'm worried that if I don't buy it now, physically, it's going to be gone. And I'm just never going to find it again. Because that happens with a lot of JRPGs anyway. This is technically a Square game, so it probably would hang around longer than you think. But that studio's gone. It's like they gave up on the game the day it came out. So I was just... And, it's only a $60 game. And I played the demo. I really liked the demo. And I think it's going to be probably the next thing on the list for me. So yeah, my copy's sitting right here. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I have a copy of it coming tomorrow. I originally was going to do the Black Friday thing with it, and then with this announcement, and then you and I talking about it, like I see it becoming one of these weird things where like it hangs around for a little bit, but it's one of those things where it's not easy to find a copy. You go on Amazon, it's like some weird like $44 price point.
The copies that are out there are the copies that are out there, and there's not going to be any more. Yeah. So
it's like they're not going to they're not going to do a second print of this.
No, I don't think
so. Which is wild because you guys were talking about this. I didn't know about this as far as them getting shut down the day this is released. So as we're talking about it, I went online and I bought a copy from GameStop. Yeah. I was like, I was telling you, Kyle, like, I feel like I need to get more into JRPGs because I have a couple of them and I just...
This seems like a very accessible one. From what I played in the demo, like, it just seems like it's really meant more for, like, to get you into JRPGs. And, like, it's an action-based one, so it's not turn-based, all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I knew that once they said that, I'm like, man, normally you can wait on Square games if you want to, but this is one where you can't.
Yeah, I will probably wait a little bit on playing it because I got to get through Castlevania and I got Dead Rising in 2 weeks that I'm gonna crush out. I'm gonna crush out as much as I can, if not all of it. I'm gonna go for the 1,000.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Have they said that? I don't think they've said if they're doing 7 Days Survivor or not.
I don't think I've seen anything about it. I would assume so.
I hope they do.
I would assume so.
I hope they do.
Did that game have? I don't remember. Did that game have a true like endless mode?
No.
Okay, so maybe
it just had the.
Maybe they'll add a sandbox.
You can keep going in 7 Days Survivor, but eventually, when you hit like day 10 or 11, it's not possible. Yeah. It's not possible to keep going.
I would like them to add a sandbox like 2 had, where you could just jump in and play the game.
I think that would be cool. Yeah. I think that would be really cool. But I'm gonna be blowing through that until Silent Hill.
Boy,
and then I gotta do that.
Oh boy.
I hope it's good. So I have hope for that, but we'll see. But as always, send your emails, game recommendations to podcast572@gmail.com. Otherwise, it's going to wrap up this edition. Really quick, I do want to say that the next episode we record in 2 weeks, we are going to have friend of the show, Ryan E. Miller, on again. Woo-hoo. So he's going to be joining us.
Yeah, everything's that'll be the next in place episode. For that. So hopefully, it should happen, but
unless he bails, loser.
Whoa! I'm going to make him watch this. So you can do that.
He's going to watch this.
I'm going to tell him you said that.
Good.
But as always, thank you for listening or watching if you're watching this. We'll see you in another 2 weeks.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.